one.
All right, hello and welcome back to the Christopher Nolan Retrospective. That's right, we're going through all of Christopher Nolan's movies. Fantastic director, starting from Following all the way up to Tenet, which who knows when that's coming out? August something, maybe September, maybe it never comes out. Who knows? Make sure you have that Fortnite downloaded though, so you can actually watch the movie when it does come out. But here we are today talking about Inception, I believe is the one we're talking about right now. I'm your host, Dylan Musk, and I missed Prestige, but I'm back, guys. I'm back. And I'm joined by the Clown Prince of Podcasts, Travis Snell.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Very excited to talk about Inception today. It's in my top 10 films, so I cannot wait. This has been a much anticipated cast.
I'm joined by the friendly neighborhood caster, Kirklin Patzer.
That's me. Yes, I'm very excited. This film is not in my top 10, but I'm very excited.
Whoa.
Wow.
We're going to talk about that. We're also joined by the ghost of all ghosts, Jessica McDonald. How you doing, Jessica?
I am good. I'm just trying to prove Travis wrong. It's taking longer than I would have hoped for. So,
that's the story of my life.
I'm excited. I'm excited to be on this. I also did not get a chance to be on the Prestige, which I am sad about. But alas, I'm here now.
Didn't even get the chance.
Yeah.
That's different than what Dylan had.
And
Dylan
you have
had
a
the
cat
chance.
joining you as well. You have a cat.
Yeah, I didn't get the chance because we were in a watch along, and then they're like, "Oh, don't forget Prestige after this." It's like,
well, that's why to break the fourth wall, there's a schedule now, thanks to Taylor, even though he's been dropping the ball elsewhere. But I guess.
yeah, where's my
Can you not send her a schedule, Taylor?
Jessica got an invite. I sent an invite to every single one.
You didn't send it to me, actually.
You didn't.
Because
send
it's
it to me
under-
Where'd you
Yeah.
I put
Where'd
all
you
of your
send it?
guys'
What email?
Majority of the people in here.
So I typed in.
Stop. When Dylan contacted me, he's like, "What time's the review at?" He's like, "It's at 12." I'm like, "Why is he saying 12?" He's like, "Well, that's on the schedule." I'm like, "What fucking schedule? I didn't get no schedule." See, this is why. I mean, I kick your little scrawny ass. September 12th.
I can counter this. So basically, Travis, when he made the Geekverse accounting calendar, it's all under his personal email. So he doesn't get an invite to the calendar because it's under his email. He doesn't get an invite to it.
Oh, so here's one little thing before we get into Inception. Taylor, introduce yourself before I say this about you.
I am the fucking spinning dreidel Taylor Field.
Oh! So we there's some of count because foolishly when we started Geek First, I put out some like the YouTube channel under Travis B. Snail, so some of them are linked. But we have a Geek First podcast at Gmail. But one day while I was at work, I got home and my email was completely changed around. My personal one, there was new folders, things deleted. He's like,
I don't have the login. I don't have the login for the Geekverse email.
I went into the Geekverse email. I'm like, no, you went into my personal email, and he changed everything around. So he literally just has the password to my personal email.
And
he goes in there multiple times. He goes in there multiple times without my permission. This is bullshit.
No. I don't.
This is why. Every punch I lay on you, September 12th, this is the reason why.
I no longer go into your actual email. When I went into the one time, I made folders with subfolders and organized the Geek Ultimate Alliance emails by category, everything perfectly. It's awesome. So I no longer go in there now because the Batman porn. But you're just like, oh, that's my private email. Like, oh, I won't go in there anymore. But I made it organized because it was a bomb show before. So.
Anyways, just to throw out some links, September 12th, yes, me and Taylor, wrestling match. I got to ask, I won't ask Kirklin because you're the ref. You're supposed to be unbiased. But Dylan, Jessica, who do you have in this win? You know, I don't want to put you on the spot, but who do you have winning this match coming September 12th?
I am not at liberty to discuss that. That is beyond my pay grade. But Jessica, what do you got?
You know, I'm going to go, Taylor did say this on Facebook, but I'm going to go ahead and throw it out there. If Travis plays anything like he did in Pokken, my money is not on him.
Wow.
I am
going straight to the gauntlet results. Always a savage player.
I'm going to beat Taylor Field, and then I'm going to beat Jessica and Poke in November, and then Kirkland, I'm coming for you for fucking paper or whatever, Mario Baseball. Taylor, where can they find us on the interwebs before we get in this review?
Ladies and gentlemen, you can find us in the search bar, Geekverse Space Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. You can find us on Facebook at Geekverse Podcast. You can find us on Twitter, Geekverse Cast. You can find us on Patreon.
What are you doing?
He's stretching.
And I want to give a huge thank you to everyone for our amazing silver.
Oh, get this guy. Kick him. Kick him. Do it.
Okay, so you don't want to see that. I don't know what happened there. Taylor, some sort of award or something. But Dylan, what are we're talking about Inception today, right?
Yeah, we're talking about Inception here, which I guess I should say quickly. Tenet does have a release date officially as the time we're recording this. Who knows if it changes? But what is that date again, Travis?
August 27th, 26th for worldwide and Canada, and then the states get it September 4th, whatever the Labor Day weekend is, or something like that. So.
You think the states would get priority?
Well, no, because they have lesser states that have so much COVID, they can't allow the theaters to release. Where in Canada, other places, we have a better control. Like, I'm not trying to make this political. That's just the reason they gave that. They said that, and even in the states, it's going to be select theaters. It's not worldwide. So, yeah,
interesting. Good to know. Well, I don't know. Is Taylor back? I see the black screen. I don't know if that's Jessica's cat that's in front of his camera or what's going on here. But
it is. So don't worry about it. Just leave him like that.
No, I feel like he's closed it and something's gonna happen. Like next time he pops back up is gonna be something. So Dylan,
sorry guys, I'm busy now, and he just goes off to play Warzone or something.
No, he's got a 10-hour update. I caught him on that. He's not playing for another 10 hours.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Those 50 updates. Okay, we're here. We're talking about Inception today, which I'm really excited about. Personally, this is one of my favorite movies of all time. I agree with Travis. It's in my top 10 somewhere. And it's one of the movies I've seen the most as well. Like in theaters, I think I saw it 3 or 4 times, which is probably my record for seeing a movie in theaters. And then since then, I've probably seen it like another 20 times, which is a lot for me. Like I know to Travis, that's like chump change. 20 times seeing a movie is nothing at all. But for me, that's a significant amount. And I just watched this movie a couple months ago just because I need that every year, like multiple times. I just got to put it on. I just need it in my life. It's so good. But I don't know who wants to start here. What their overall thoughts? Obviously, this movie is about a decade old, so spoilers, I'd say, are fair game. If you haven't seen this movie, I don't know what you're doing. Go see this movie. I think all of us would recommend you watch this movie. It's worth it. Kirklin's raising his hand.
I'll go next. Yeah, this movie, I've seen it. I want to say this was my 3rd time watching it. The first time I watched it, I feel like the first time I watched it was the only time I like sat down compared to this last time, because the second time it was really just like in and out. Like there was so many things I was missing and so many things I like just like missed in general. I'm like, why are they on the snow map now? Like what happened there, But but no, like this view was actually probably my favorite because I had really caught on to like just some of the things that aren't hit, I don't know, like the strongest. Like every viewer might catch on to it, whereas like now I'm like, oh wow, that actually makes sense, which I don't know, it's probably a running theme on Nolan films. A lot of stuff has to do with like time skipping or just jumping back and forth through just, I don't know, foreshadowing events and stuff, and he does a really great job of that. But sometimes I don't know, I wasn't always like the most analytical viewer, whereas so before I'd be like, I don't know, I'm kind of lost now, but I don't know. I think Prestige had that same effect on me where like the first time I watched it, I was just lost. I was also a younger age, but at the same time, I just didn't really get it. So this one, I love this movie. I don't think I can put it in my top 10 just because I'm a crazy person and I like really wild movies, and some movies that are like 40% on Rotten Tomatoes are probably in my top 10 because I just have the most enjoyment out of them. Like there's a couple of comedies in there that people are like, oh, how can you like a comedy? Like those are just naturally lower graded movies because they just don't have the same like cinema score if you ask Mr. Scorsese or something like that. But no, I love this movie.
Scorsese hates comedies.
Does he? Does he actually?
No, that's your claim, isn't it?
I mean, yeah, you can quote me on that. I don't know. I'm not like a main figurehead. So I don't think I can get canceled that easily.
You can bet that.
But but yeah, so I love this movie though. Anything that has to do with like dreams and just changing the way that you think about certain things that we all go through on a day-to-day basis, which is sleeping and dreams, and just makes you think. And I think this movie does really well at that. I love the cast in this. I'm a huge Joseph Gordon-Levitt fan, as well as the little Canadian girl in there. I'm totally missing her name.
Ellen Page.
Thank you. Yeah, I like her as well. And of course, you got the famous Leo in there that just carries it. And
famous.
I totally forgot that Ken Watanabe was in there. I'm like, no wonder Dylan loves that guy. He's in like one of his favorite movies of all time. Oh, yeah. So I think the cast is phenomenal, and just some of the shots that I feel like I didn't appreciate the first couple views around, I've really gained just more appreciation for them. And I'm excited to talk about it. And I'm excited to hear your guys' take on it because I know at least 2 people in this chat absolutely love this movie. So it's gonna be a fun one.
Well, I'm curious here, Jessica, because this is one of the the Nolan retros that you insisted on being on. So you must like this movie, unless you have very strong feelings against it. But what are your feelings?
Yeah, that'd be a big plot twist here.
I think probably because it's one of the ones that I like just remembered everything. Like if you were to ask me about Interstellar, I would have to definitely rewatch it before I could say anything really positive on it or negative. The Prestige is another one that I've watched multiple times, but I can't even bring any other ones to mind, and we've been talking about them lately because of the retrospectives. So yeah, I have seen this movie a couple different times, not quite as much as Dylan, where it's 3 times in theaters, but and kind of similar to Kirklin, where the first time I was just like, what the fudge am I watching? And so it's one of those ones that you kind of appreciate it the more you see it. This time, I don't know, I actually have more questions this time.
Nice.
I don't know why you guys are laughing.
I'm sorry.
Me self-conscious.
I have the chat open, and it's
We're
all
laughing at
about
Taylor,
Taylor.
not you,
It's
not
nothing
you.
about you. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
For
Just
the
a-
audio listeners, Taylor is just it's just a blank screen. He just says
He
he's
got
got
kicked
something planned.
because
He's-
of bad
yeah.
behavior. Let's
Yeah, but
let's
anyways,
establish
Jessica,
that,
continue. Yeah, it's not you. It's any laughter is directed towards Taylor
I'm
Field. and the
excited to hear these
shenanigans.
questions that you have. But yeah, what else? Any other overall thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely kind of forgot about how stacked this movie was.
Oh yeah.
So, because it's 10 years old?
Mhm.
Is that
Yeah,
right?
2010.
10 years in July 16th. So a month when we were
Crazy.
recording this a month ago, it was 10 years old.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm sure when I first watched it, it wasn't quite the same excitement level. Yeah, my guest is trying to make a sneak appearance, sorry. So yeah, I'll kind of leave it at that for now and get into my questions and stuff after we hear from the black screen.
Yeah, Taylor, what do you got planned? You can go ahead here. You can break some of this
Sneaking. Got
tension.
something
What do you got
planned,
going on,
like-
Taylor? And you won't be kicked, so there you go.
It's gonna be the silver. It's gonna be the silver medal right in our faces right here.
Taylor, you gonna go or you want me to go?
Taylor.
It's not gonna be anything silver. No, Travis, I'm gonna kick your butt when that wrestling match comes up. That's all I have to say.
Mute him. Spike the Mike Daniels over here.
That was it. That was it. What did you run to put a tank top on to show up your guns or whatnot?
No, just my hoodie.
Oh,
It's
Your
already-
mic is...
yeah. Maybe I'm gonna go while you unplug
Spike the
gain
gain
on
on
that
his
mic there,
mic.
Mr.
Yeah, it's
check your
cranked.
gain and microphone.
He's been recording some metal songs.
So I love
Oh,
Inception.
Oh, can I do it now? Even though we're not in it, right here. I said same Zoom as the Netflix and fail, and you said yep.
When was
Oh,
this?
Lord Travis.
Wow.
That sounds like
That's
him.
a
What
deep
was the
cut.
date on this?
August 9th at 12:03 p.m.
I just thought you meant like this. No, that was about the Flash, so that wasn't about this one. I thought it was just like
No,
the same
but
setup.
I asked you if you were using the same link, and you said yes. So then I didn't get one this time, so I figured that it was just the same link again because you didn't bother to send it to me.
It's a
All I'm
50-50. It's a
saying-
draw.
See,
It's a
Dylan
draw.
agrees.
It's
with me.
fine.
Not
Once,
What the hell's
about-
going on?
no,
Taylor,
no.
once I
Taylor,
beat
what's
Taylor in the
going
wrestling
on?
match,
Inception-
Jessica next.
I'm gonna
Nolan.
screenshot it just so
There you
that
go.
way I have it.
Taylor, why are you wearing like a scarf?
It's not. It's my old Navy hoodie.
No, I said, why are you wearing like a scarf?
This is how. Don't you ever see those like people out in like they're like from
No.
Harvard and stuff? They wear like this like from Harvard, you know,
The
the whole
ascots.
the Harvard look.
Ascot's different, no? Anyways, beyond
I
your
love
point.
Inception. It's a great movie. Yeah, it's one of those. It's very much like The Dark Knight, where it's strange that you have a director who's kind of at the top of his game twice. It's lightning in a bottle twice. I always say the fact that he did this and Inception back to back is just, or the other way around, it's just nuts because that's so much talent and so much of like, oh yeah, he did this great comic book movie, and then Inception came in, and that Inception is the movie that really put on the map. Is like, this guy's gonna be around for a while. He's gonna be that Spielberg. I feel like Inception I feel like it is Batman and Inception, but those two together was okay. People know him by name. That's why every trailer you now see from the director, Christopher Nolan. You know, I don't think other than the Batman movies, his other movies have had that impact. Interstellar, I like. Dunkirk, I like a lot. Things like that. Prestige, but even Prestige, that's smaller. But everything about this movie, even when we did Prestige, I go, oh, you know, like sometimes I like it more than Prestige, or I like Prestige more than this. And then when I watch this, I just get reminded of like, it's still so good. It's 10 years old and it doesn't feel dated at all. The ideas feel still very unique and very fleshed out. That's some of my problems I have maybe with another movie coming up with Nolan, where I feel like some of the ideas are, they're out there but not well explained. I think this is the best use of it. Gets trippy, it gets wild, and gets into the grass a lot, but at the end of the day, it still explains it, and there's little pickups you can do. Acting's really good as far as everybody, like Jessica pointed out, it's a stat cast. The score, this is probably my favorite movie score. Dark Knight has that theme, but just everything Hans Zimmer does in this movie, especially the time theme at the end, is fantastic. Leo's great in it. Leo, I really hope, again, works with Nolan. I have some trivia about that, how they work well together, but I hope that happens again in the future. And it's great. I have some notes about this, but it's like a good mix of genres. It's a thriller. It's a heist movie. It's kind of a horror movie at times, in my opinion. The stuff with Maul is very scary, and that's why I really want one day Nolan to do like a Shining Kubrick, where this is the most he's kind of got scary. There's certain music, there's certain beats, there's just certain, there's certain, at the beginning of the movie, we're kind of maybe portrayed that Leonardo DiCaprio's character named Dominic Cobb, because we talked about this in Prestige. Kirklin's like, his name's not Dom, that's a Fast and Furious character. It is fucking Dom. I knew it. So maybe I was wrong about
I remembered it as Cobb, okay.
I was wrong about the Zoom link
Cobb
perhaps, but
often.
Dom I was right on. So, but even then, it's a great start of like, he's kind of an untrustworthy character at the beginning, and that kind of goes throughout. It has tons of angles, and just the scale of it. I think it's still his biggest scale. I know Interstellar is a space movie, but I just feel that at times it is even more contained. This is just to the max as far as imagination. I love this movie. I could watch this movie all the time and still get the same enjoyment I have as before. So yeah, love Inception.
Interesting. Some of the things you were saying there, it just reminded me of like some of the ideas I was going to bring into the Interstellar conversation on like the big ideas, or just stuff that, I don't know, I could watch more and more. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to add to just on what you were saying, Travis, that one thing that, helped this but didn't help the Prestige is the Prestige did come out at the same time as another very similar movie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember.
The Illusionist, yeah, with Edward Norton. Yeah.
Great movie.
Is it?
I really think so, yeah. I think it's amazing.
So I don't think I watched either of them, and then I watched The Prestige when it was on Netflix or something, and I really loved it. I never went back and watched the other one.
I didn't realize they came out so like close together. I had seen both, and I like both for different reasons, but yeah.
That's interesting. I feel like Inception couldn't really have that because it's just so different and weird and unique as a movie. There's nothing quite like it. I think that's probably why I like it so much. Taylor, did you want to share some overall thoughts on Inception that you have? You were kind of awake.
How's the game? Is it good?
You sound fine to me.
It sounds better.
I didn't touch anything at all
I think you
day.
were just riled up or something.
Yeah, I think you were
riled. The blood was
kicked
pumping
from the chat. Yeah, that'll happen.
Oh yeah. Inception. Yeah, I haven't seen this movie in 10 years. Last time I saw it was in the theaters.
Wow.
Yes.
So
and you rewatched it recently, right?
As old as I am.
I started rewatching it last night at about 1:30, and then I finished it this morning.
Okay. I thought you were about to say you didn't finish the whole thing. I was really mad at you for a second.
At 1:30 p.m. or a.m.?
On 3 times speed.
Oh, boy. Why did you even bother at 1:30 a.m.?
I want to watch it.
That's when I was watching it. You weren't giving me shit.
I trust Kirklin. I trust you. I don't trust Taylor.
I respect it.
I feel like this movie, if you haven't seen it in a decade, requires quite a bit of attention span.
Yeah, that is.
Oh, and I put a lot of attention into it. Okay. I actually, when I started at this, when I started it this morning, actually we rewinded by an hour so I could recap everything.
Oh, you fell asleep for that hour. It was at 1:30 in the morning.
It is a trippy movie. I don't blame him. It took me. That's why I watched it in theaters so many times, because I was like, I need to understand everything. So I've
never paid to see this movie because I worked at the theaters at the time. I worked at the theaters at the time that it released, so I got in for free and I watched it with my friend. And
how'd you watch it this time?
It was on Netflix.
You pay for Netflix.
You pay for Netflix.
I pay for Netflix, but I don't pay for Netflix for Inception. I pay for it to get Avatar, The Last Airbender and stuff.
I don't know.
Sure.
I'll just give you that.
What do you think about the actual movie, Taylor?
I agree with that question.
Did you throw this one out too with Interstellar?
No, because I don't know what happened in Interstellar. I'm choked about that, to be honest. But Inception, yeah, it's been 10 years and I still don't know what the hell's going on in this movie. It's just, I kind of I can follow the gist of certain things, but I mean, the only thing that I'm so certain on is that I believe the end is not a dream.
Well, I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah.
Do you like the movie?
Oh yeah, I think it's a great movie. It keeps you on the edge of your seat. I agree with everything you're saying. Like, it has horror moments like Mo or Ma or what's her name now?
Mal.
Her name is
Mal.
It's Maul. Her name's
Mo
not
with the gimpy
Maul.
leg.
Yeah, Mo with the train in her head.
Maul, like Maul without the U,
Darth
so just
Maul,
straight
yeah.
up Maul, yeah. Okay, yeah, but she was just weird. She's just popping up everywhere, and I mean, my only concern with this, like, if you're in a dream, I feel like if you get shot in your dream by a gun, can't you just dream it away? Or can't you dream that those guys aren't there anymore shooting at you because it's your dream?
But that's if you're controlling the dream, right? And I think like they mentioned, sometimes the dream can go wrong. So if you bring in real world stuff, things can come in the dream that you can't control. Yeah. So you can control as much as possible. Well, it's like the same thing. If you're flying a helicopter, but you start to hit turbulence, you can't just be like, well, I wish that turbulence away. It's kind of like that. If the weather's good, you're fine.
Well, that's real life though, compared to a dream.
The idea is that
it's just a comparison.
I think the idea, Taylor, is that the projections or like the people in the dreams are your subconscious, right? So you can't control that part of your brain. You can maybe control like parts of the level, quote unquote, or the place you're in, but you can't control the people.
So there's the people are then represented as the subconscious, obviously, in the movie, and you can't control your subconscious. Now, I'm not a pro. I don't know how to control shit, but yeah, I would think that you could control your subconscious, because if you spend like,
but you
like
can
Leonardo,
you can train it. Like that's what Fisher does. Like he has like trained guards that are projections of his subconscious.
Yeah,
he uses as like a military defense.
But they were willing to kill him and screw with him though. Is that because he was a threat to his own subconscious?
No, they weren't trying to kill him. They were trying to kill the Inception team. They made it look like
you really didn't. Yeah, you didn't really watch this.
No.
Maul's her own entity, and that's why
Warzone on the second screen.
And that's why at the end, like, also we don't see Leo go back into a dream, presumably, but you would presume that Maul wouldn't pop up again because he's kind of made peace with that now. Where before he says it was guilt, so guilt was always bugging him, so that was in his subconscious, so that would create Maul as an effect for that. But because he let go of that, like she doesn't have any decisions. It's just all what he would think she would do, or his guilt would kind of power her to do.
Yeah, I have a couple other questions, but we can get into the movie before we get there.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of actually want to start there. Like, I feel like at this point, kind of giving our overall thoughts, and I like this is one like for Halloween and for Insomnia. Like, I whipped out a explanation of the movie, a quick description, but I don't think anyone needs that for Inception. I think everyone knows what it is. If you don't know what it is, I don't even want to tell you. I want you to go watch the movie and then come back to this. I think it's absolutely worth it for you to do that. So yeah, let's just get right into it. I want to start with these questions because I have a couple as well, but I want to hear some of yours. I know Jessica said you had some. I know Kirklin, you have a couple. I know Taylor.
I'll shoot my question if you're ready for me.
Give it to us.
So in the dreams, I noticed a couple times, like when they go to the first level of the dream with Fisher, and they're kind of in that warehouse, and they're having a shootout, and it shows Joseph Gordon-Levitt shooting like the little badass guys, and then you got Tom Hardy come over and just pull out like a noob tube. So when they're in the dreams, are they able to just be like, okay, I'm gonna just think of a noob tube and then I'm gonna have it, or do they go in with it? Like, are they able to just be like, I'm just gonna dream about a gun and then I have that gun? I wasn't sure if it was only the dreamers that were able, or like not necessarily the dreamers. Sorry, like whose dream it is. So like in the
but it wasn't Tom Hardy's dream at that point. They were not.
Yeah.
So,
but like,
Tom
was
Hardy's
he able?
not.
So he's just able to bring his gun. Yeah.
Well, that's what he says. He goes. His direct quote is, "You need to dream bigger." So that was one of my questions too. I have it written down because I was like, "So can you just pull anything out of nowhere?" And then why don't they?
The way I take it is that they like that was part of the plan, like the initial setup of the quote unquote heist, and like they knew they were going to that particular warehouse. Right. So just because like it's not that he dreamed it up on the spot, like maybe he like essentially dreamed that up earlier to be like part of their equipment. It's the same way like the way when they drop into the snow level, they have like all this equipment with them. That's because I'm guessing that's like how they built that level.
But that's not like the architect that did that, right? Like that's actually each person that's going into
I think
the dream.
the creation of the level, the way I take it is that they're all working on that. Like there is a main architect, and that's the person who like they're going into that person's mind, but they all kind of work on it together. The only one that doesn't do that is Cobb, because if he knows the layout, then it is problematic because he would bring them all in different ways. But like, for example, earlier in the movie, Ariadne asks Cobb, hey, check out this level. I have a question here. And he's like, oh, don't show me that. I don't want to see that. But I think the other people would help her with that question. You know, like they know the layout of the level. They know what the plan is. I mean, he knows what the plan is too, but he's a little more fuzzy on some of the specifics.
Right. Yeah, there's just.
I think it's a little different because I think she makes all the levels, and then they're in someone's mind. But then there's someone who like fills it as well. I don't remember. There was one part where someone said something about, you know, how they designed the level, and someone else made a comment about filling it. So I think there is a couple of components to it, but maybe that just.
It's just like.
I mean, it's.
Sorry, go ahead, Dylan. No, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I mean, even though she is maybe the lead architect or creating ones, like they're not going into her dream 3 times, right? Like the rainy New York level, that's Yusuf's mind, and then they're going into Arthur's mind, and then they go into her mind. So even though she's like creating all of it, in that case, like the first layer, even though she maybe built the level, it's still not her mind that they're going into. Like they're going into Yusuf's, and then that's when he pulls out that gun that you guys are talking about.
Right. Yeah, it's just like I feel like it's like almost like a running theme throughout these, especially doing the Nolan retros. It becomes a lot more just apparent that there's a lot of stuff in these movies that they just kind of jump around, and it's not completely explained. And it's not like I'm expecting them to explain it, especially when you get to Interstellar, and it's like actually science that is just like, well, obviously we don't have the answers to gravity, you know, like stuff like that. So I'm not saying it takes away from the movie, but it's something that I've noticed that sometimes they kind of jump around, and then it almost forces you to have to watch the movie a couple times to just fully grasp some of these things, right? Mm-hmm. And also some of these things are just left for interpretation, like the ending of this movie.
Yeah, of course. Do you have a different take on that, Travis, than I do?
The only thing I do is just kind of, I think you guys throw out some good theories. I just also think because it's Eames, however you want to say his name, and they bring him in because he can create stuff in the middle of the dream. He's the only guy that can impersonate people. So that's kind of the way I took it, as like, it's kind of that gray area of like, what does the Force do? Well, it depends who's strong. It depends who's that. That's why I kind of take it. It's like, this guy is trained a lot more in this category, so it's like they had to go get him, and he can impersonate multiple people. He shows this off in the dream, right? So to me, it seems like he has a bit more grasp on the dream world. Maybe he's had more reps, so that's why I thought that maybe Joseph Gordon-Levitt could keep thinking about building that gun, but he can't get there. That's why at one point when they go to the limbo, and Ellen Page is like, how did you build us all from mine? And Leo goes, well, we were here for decades. And that's, to me, insinuating that if they were there for a few weeks, maybe they couldn't have got that, because it just would have been that hard to, because we don't even know the dreaming process, right? They never really show that. It's just kind of, it's all there in their mind, and then it's built. So that's the way I kind of took it, as that it's a gun. He went in with it. Or maybe it's just, to me, him outsmarting of like, everyone's like, oh, you need a gun. And Tom Hardy's character goes, well, I'm going to bring a grenade launcher because why not? You know, and it kind of fits his character as well. So that's the way I've always taken it. It's just that's kind of his expertise, and he can do that. You know, and I feel like Cobb could do something like that, but he can't, because he's bringing in stuff that he doesn't even want to bring in, like a train, right? So his mind is working in mysterious ways where we don't really see that with any other character, right? Obviously, it might just because they're not the main character, but we don't see that with Saito. He is newer to the group, so that's fine. But Yusuf or Arthur, they don't bring in anything to the dreams, right?
Yeah, like into the dreams, but it like, because when they're collecting this just band of mischiefs, this motley crew, and like it's obvious that they all have their kind of expertise. I was just a little unclear on like Eames, that's Tom Hardy's character, right?
Yeah. Eames,
yeah. So I wasn't too sure on what his expertise was, because originally when they go find him, I think it's just because he kind of has experience with Inception, if I'm not mistaken.
So he's a quote unquote forger, so that's why he can like turn into other people in the dream and appear as someone else. And so I think I like that train of thought that Travis is going down, that because he has that, because he's like leveled that skill tree, quote unquote, he's unlocked the ability to like spawn different guns. But then I think there's another way to look at that too, where even in that scene when Joseph Gordon-Levitt, his name's Arthur, I guess I should say that, when Arthur is shooting those goons up on the roof, like he has an assault rifle that he didn't have a minute ago either. So that's why I think that all that stuff was like, they prepared it and like had it to quote unquote spawn in that little warehouse.
Yeah.
Jessica, is that
I can't tell if that's
is that
raising a hand.
yeah, is that your new slogan, or you got something to say? Yeah.
Yeah, so I've kind of like tried to Google exactly what I was talking about there being multiple people. So there's 3 components to every dream. The architect designs it, then the dreamer creates it, and then the subject's subconscious. So there's 3 people. So obviously, yeah, I would think that whoever created it and dreamed it based on those designs, so they probably designed each person's gun, and then that dreamer takes. So, I mean, in theory, Tom Hardy's character could have gone to Ellen Page and been like, yo, I want this grenade launcher.
Right.
What's his face? Levitz is probably just like, I'll just take this gun.
Yeah.
And then, so that's kind of how I was thinking about it, but it would have been nice to have a little bit more explanation about that.
Yeah, I think I'm mixed on it because there is. I think one thing I've noticed as I've watched this movie so many times is that there is a lot of exposition throughout it, and I think for the most part it's done really well. Like it's used really tastefully, and a lot of it is done like through Ariadne. Like that's kind of her purpose as a character for the most part, is to like pose these questions that the viewer would have, right? Because she's like a newbie to it as well. She also kind of does the same for Cobb's story, which I think is interesting. But I guess that's I don't know. I guess that's a different part of it too. Like there's, I like that there's different ways you could take it as well. I think that's an interesting part of it. Other questions that you guys, what other questions you guys have?
Yeah, I'll pull my notes
all that
here.
stuff right away.
So I'll throw out one while he's looking.
Do it.
So when the van is in free fall, then Joseph Gordon-Levitt goes into free fall, which creates his world in free fall. But then in that free fall, Fisher's free falling because he's floating. So why isn't the snow world floating?
Well, I can't remember when they say that, but at one point, I can't remember the situation, but they say like, "Oh, is that? Oh, I think it was the rumbling," and someone says, "Is that the car?" And they say, "No, that's not. That's too far away. It's just Cobb pointing out that it's dream." I can't remember, but I feel like it is.
Yeah, it's the plane. Is that turbulence on the plane?
Yeah, and they just go, "Oh no, that'd be too far away from us." So that's the way I've always taken it. It's just that it kind of the same way when they say Saito got shot, but it's like the deeper they go, the less he'll feel it. So it's kind of the same way I take for the world views as far as, okay, if this is shaking here, it shakes a little bit there, but when we get to 3 or 4 or limbo, there's not much or any shaking out of it at all. So that's why
that's what the avalanche stemmed from, right? The avalanche stemmed from the, what was it, like the elevator, the explosion, or?
Oh, it's from the truck going off the bridge, right?
Right.
Yeah,
when it
that was the
like
first
that?
kick.
Yeah.
First kick.
But like,
Yeah,
I think
so
that's why they're not all like floating around. I think because it's still a bit further away. So there's impact.
But it's not that further away. It's one level because they're still floating, and Fisher's still floating. Like he's being pushed around, wrapped together with everyone. So you would think there would at least be reduced gravity, like they could jump and fly for miles like they're on the moon.
Yeah, I guess the explanation for that is just like the sedative they're under just puts them like such a much deeper layer than would like a regular dream, or like I guess a lot of that stuff can be explained in maybe an unfortunate way where it's just like Yusuf built this compound that can deal with that stuff. Like he thought about those things and then like created the antidote to like go against that, the compound to go against that, which is maybe kind of a callback because I guess they didn't really plan for that. They didn't plan to have no gravity. Maybe they had a plan B. Maybe Yusuf had thought of that or something, but I think that's probably a bit too far down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, if you're going that route, it doesn't really work in the sense that it's like, well, why didn't it work?
Yeah, I mean,
one level up.
Yeah, it works for me because that still had an effect on the snow world. It didn't have enough to make all of them float, but it did like create this avalanche, which is a pretty monumental thing. And maybe that's just because Nolan wanted to make an avalanche in his movie or something. But I don't know. For me it works, but I think that is a valid question. I think I covered up with like the strength of the compound just has that much distance from them. Then maybe the level of like, let's say we go with the dream that happens at the very start of the movie where they're 2 levels deep and they're doing like that demonstration for Saito. Maybe if that had happened in there, maybe it would have been strong enough to create that lack of gravity in all the layers. But I just think with the compound they're under in the heist, it changes things.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Great
that's a satisfactory
Kirklin.
answer, but that's what I got.
I'll add that one word to the whole subject.
One question I have.
Bring up the next question, Kirklin. Oh,
I have another one. I'll throw out here.
Dylan, go.
and because as I've watched this movie, there is a couple things that come up, and I'm like, I don't know, does that really make sense, or is that really necessary? And one of them for me is like, why is Yusuf part of the plan? Like, originally they say that they just want a guy to create the compounds, and then they say that they want someone that can go in the field with them as well, or like someone who can go in the field to tailor the compounds to exactly what they need. But like they're making the compounds before the entire heist. So I don't really understand why he has to go into the field with them.
I might be able to answer this actually with my limited expertise on the subject. But like the way I took it was they just basically need more bodies to be used as dreamers, right? Because each layer that they go in, they need someone to basically stay behind and be the dreamer. Like when they're doing the van chase, Yusuf has to stay awake. He can't be going down to the next layer, so they kind of need to leave him behind. Same when you go down to Arthur, battling all those guys in the hallway, like he's got to be on that layer. He can't go to the snow fortress because they has to have that one dreamer. I don't know if I'm mistaken there, but that's just the way I took it. I feel like they needed someone that has some sort of experience dealing with this whole not necessarily Inception, because it's like Incepting is basically just the process of going into someone's mind and planting a thought in their mind. It's not necessarily like, what's it called when they're going just
extraction is just the regular when you're trying to pull
extractors.
Yeah,
exactly. So I feel like they just need more experienced extractors doing that. Again, I might have just been lost in the weeds on that
No, I thought the same thing, especially because Sato is not, they call him a tourist, like he's not actually considered an extractor. So if you take his body out, by the time you get to the lower level, you still only have a couple people, right?
I guess that makes sense. I think probably part of that is that Yusuf, out of all of them, has like by far the least backstory. You don't really know much about him, as like he does say, I don't go much in the field anymore. I don't know if that means that he was like an expert extractor and he was doing these big heists for years and years, and now he's kind of retired and he's like, I'll do this one last job or something. So I guess that's kind of how to take it, is that he's already really good at it, so that's why they brought him in. But from a film point of view, I think it's just because then that's one less character they have to have in the movie, right? It's like, why not bundle this, what would be two characters into one, and then you get a little bit more of an interesting character.
Yeah, and at time he's used for exposition too, because at one point they're like, how could we hear that kick? And then he chimes in with, well, this anecdote I made you could especially hear with that. And then they go, oh, well, how did Cobb get away with this? It's like, well, he gave me his whole share, where if he was just up there. And I guess they kind of have to have, other than Saito, most of these people seem like they have, and I guess Ellen Page, but all of them have like a history with Leo. So there is that moment where Saito says like, pick your people and pick the right ones this time. So like that to me is like, you want them to be the same, because it shows that like he's trusting him enough, because if he's coming with him, that means he's not going to get screwed over. Maybe like if he's in the dream and he's under the same sedative, he knows that, okay, Yusuf is taking the same risk as us, because if he dies, he's in limbo, where that one guy, obviously he didn't screw them up in the dream, but then right after he sold them out, right? So maybe that's the idea too, that he wants him to come with him, to keep his eyes on him, to like, if you're coming with me, you got to take this risk with us. Because they almost, if Saito didn't want to use them, they would have been dead. Arthur and Cobb would have been done. They were waiting at the helicopter. Saito had a gun. They were completely unprepared for what was about to happen. So I think that could be it too, just to make sure, if we go down, you're coming with us. They don't set any of that at all, but it's kind of that heist mentality, right? In heist movies where it's, one for all for one sort of deal.
I guess my question with Yusuf is like, it feels like he messes up a couple times, right? Like one, I don't know if it was truly a mistake or if they were just joking around, but the fact that he, needed to go to the bathroom and it caused like this heavy rain that made the job like a little bit more difficult. The fact that he kind of fucked up the bridge scenario, right? Like obviously it's difficult, really hard. He almost flipped the van and screwed up the whole thing. Like he didn't really do that great of a job. That makes me question like how much of an expert was he? Right. Obviously the task is like really difficult, but that's where I wonder that too. And like, he also was the one that knew that how strong this compound was, and that he could potentially die. Essentially, he could be stuck in limbo if one thing goes wrong.
But he does talk about that
only he knew about, and he still took, even though he maybe isn't the most expert of experts.
Well, he did say that he gave that information to Leo to spread around, the fact that they could all be stuck in limbo if they die.
Yeah, I'm more saying that Yusuf knew that, like, the risk of this mission, and he still wanted to do it anyway, even though he had really nothing. Like, I guess he gets money out of it, but then doesn't feel like he has much to gain from it, and like he knows what the result is, which is potentially you go into like the psychosis, I guess, if you're stuck in limbo for so long, is the fear.
I think they could have set up maybe because he says like, "Oh, did he promise you half his share?" He says, "No, he promised me the whole share." I think they could have thrown in a line or two to show that this character is a little more desperate, and maybe that's why he's doing this. The mistakes, that doesn't make sense, but they all kind of make mistakes at the beginning because even like Arthur screws up. He was supposed to do the backstory on Fisher, and he didn't get all this whole like the training and whatnot. So I do love it's a classic heist scene where they are in that warehouse for the first time, and they're all just calling each other out because they've all screwed up in one way or another. And Ames is just kind of, yeah, he's like, I'm just going to sit here and do nothing. He's like, well, if you sit here, you're going to sit here for weeks and you're a dead man. So I do like at the warehouse, they kind of all, maybe not the best time to be screwing up because, yeah, it's an important mission. But I guess like they established, they didn't know. They just said, well, if they fail, we fail. But they didn't know we might go into limbo. So.
Okay. More questions.
Cool.
I like these questions. I feel like this is getting a lot of good information that it's good for me to think about some of these things as well.
Yeah,
I kind of got
another question. Sorry, go ahead, Jessica.
When they were in the warehouse, didn't they say that it was like 20 minutes, 3 hours, and a week or something like that too?
7 hours.
Like the further you go down, right?
Yeah, the flight that they are on with Saito and Fisher, that was 7 hours, and then he says that's like 4 or 5 weeks or something like that, and then after that is because even when they go into limbo for like a second time, she said like, oh, we'll have time down there, and that's where even then it slowed down. And I do like that way where when the very first time they show the truck hit for the first kick, but then that's just like in such slow motion, and then you get the hotel where you get Arthur fighting, and I do like that they show that in linear time, showing that okay, how that slowed down, that happened like almost half an hour ago, and that truck's still falling, right? Because I think at first when they are pitching it, it sounds easy enough, but I feel like you could get lost. It's in my trivia, but I'll show it now. We're in Japan when they show this for the first time. In the top right corner, they would have little indicators of which dream you're in to have the viewers not get confused. So, but for me, I think they personally explain it. They explain it well, and I think they show it well as far as every time they flash back, they show, okay, things are moving a little slower there, or it's almost like someone's on rewind and the other tape is playing forward. So I do like I think they nail all those concepts in my opinion.
Nice.
I would agree.
Kirklin, you got another one?
Yeah. So each time they go in a level, they have the one dreamer.
I did look it up. So the math was 1 hour on.
Oh,
sorry.
Jessica's gone. She's cutting out.
Jessica's gone. No, she she didn't cut out.
She cut out for me, yeah.
I am cutting out because I tried to talk and then I just didn't appear that I was talking. So.
Oh, I see. Sorry about that.
What do you got?
What do I got, or what does Kirklin have?
What do you got? Show us what you got.
So I looked because this was kind of going to circle into a question. So it's 1 hour on the plane equals 12 hours in the van, 6 days in the hotel, and 2.5 months in the snowland, and then 2.5 years in the abyss. So something, I don't know. I had kind of problems with, I think the farther the movie got in, the less that they kind of followed that timeline. Like they were supposed to have, 2.5 months in the snowland, but it felt like everything happened in like a day and it was still moving.
Yeah, like they I remember they did mention something how like they basically were just losing time because some other shit was going terribly,
that's
right?
why they had to be
dying.
quick. Yeah, because remember when Ames is like he's turning into Tom Berenger the first time, Browning, and he's like, I was supposed to have all night on this case, and Leo's like, well, you got an hour because if they don't get this done before Saito dies, he's lost. And obviously that's why I love that conversation when he's like, I'll honor the arrangement. He's like, it doesn't matter if you go into limbo, you're not gonna even remember my name. So and that's I love Ken Watanabe in this movie. I wish he was in more, not in Detective Pikachu. I wish he was in like major serious roles.
Godzilla?
He's always in those type of
Put him
movies.
in a Marvel movie. That's what I'm saying.
I know he has to at some point, but I love him. I think for story reasons, they make enough reasons why he's on the mission. I sometimes still don't buy it. I love that point where he's like dying in the snow mission, and Ames is like, "Oh, Saito will hold him off," and he's just sitting there with a gun, like he's dying, and he's like, "Yeah." It's like at the end of the day, they should have all took a vote and said, like, Saito, you're not fucking coming. We know you want to like protect your investment, but like you talk about Yusuf being like a nuisance. Literally first mission, Saito gets shot, and he's an issue to deal with the entire time. So like I think it was good for the movie, and it he's a powerful businessman, so he says I have to come. But I think in real life, you go, you're not for your first time in the dream world, like as a operative. This is not the time. This is not to go. Kirklin, go ahead.
Yeah. So my thing on there though, don't you kind of need Saito though, because from the very first scene in the movie, aren't they in Saito's dream? And then at the end, it's kind of like does full circle how he like finds them in limbo, and that's technically Saito's dream.
You need that. Yeah, I think for the storyteller reason, but I think for a practical purpose, why is he there other than I'm the businessman, I want to come with you? He doesn't need to be there.
Yeah.
And some people have brought this up as a potential plot hole. I don't know if it is or not because we don't get the relationship with him and Fisher. But there's many times of if they're competing rivals, why does Fisher not recognize Saito multiple times when he bumps into him in the cab when Saito turns around with the gun? It's clearly him. He's not wearing a hood or anything like that. I push that to the side because we don't have that answer. You may not know what he looks like. He's just inheriting the company, so maybe he's not had that much dealings with Saito or other people. But it is a thing of like you bring more attention. Like even his subconscious, someone like Browning, it's like could he, obviously it's just as a subconscious, but it just I think there's potential risks for him coming along. That again, for a dangerous mission, they sure take a lot of risks. I guess that kind of that's the movie, right? It's a ragtag team that's, they're taking risks, but if they pay off, it's really big. But with Saito, there's potential huge problems to him coming along.
I guess the thing is he doesn't know that Saito in that dream is like a real life Saito who's in the dream with him though, right? It could just be that he brought that projection in because he knows what Saito looks like. And I see what you mean. He doesn't talk to him, but I don't know. Maybe it's like not weird for him that he sees Saito there. Just like how when you have a dream regularly, it's not like, oh, there's Travis right there in my dream. It's not like, oh, is that Travis? I need to verify this. It's just, that's just Travis because I know what Travis is. That's Travis right there.
Yeah, I think more like the first the first scene with the cab when he doesn't know he's dreaming. That's the only one to me that stands out as far as he thinks he's in the real world. But then, and even then, some people brought up of like, well, they're on the same plane together. Does that, But at the end of the day, it's just maybe they just traveled like similar paths, right? Yeah. It's just Ken Watanabe, he's fantastic in this movie, start to finish.
I think more likely is that Fisher doesn't even know who Saito is, or maybe he does. Maybe he hasn't seen him because he's not terribly invested in the company. Like, is the vibe we're getting?
Yeah.
Or I mean, it's not like he even has control yet because he's going to get it when his father passes away. So maybe he hasn't done that research yet,
Yeah, that's what I've always thought, that he knows him like by name, but he's never had to spoke to this man, where his dad maybe had to. So
you would think that Saito, if that were the case, if he knew that Fisher knew who he was, that he would not put himself.
You would hope.
Well, it could be that he's not necessarily the face of the company either.
Yeah.
That his name is on Wikipedia when you search him, but that's
because technically he works for that global organization. Yeah, so exactly. So Lord Colblow. So I think like that's the thing, that maybe the same thing. It's not like everyone's Bruce Wayne, right? You don't know unless you're Elon Musk. If you're just a rich businessman, most time people don't know you.
Elon who?
Musk.
I'm trolling.
Muskie.
I'm trying to explain that not everyone knows who that is, but it was a weak.
He's an Iron Man too.
Weak attempt. Oh yeah, the actor. Okay, yeah.
Taylor, you've been pretty quiet. Do you have any questions over there?
Give us 3 questions, Taylor.
It's not even him. It's just it's a projection of Taylor. He's playing Warzone.
Yeah, I went to play Warzone after my 10-hour update. Questions. I mean, you guys, I've to be honest, I've been enjoying like listening to these questions and hearing like your inputs because it's been very enlightening, to be honest. But I mean, as for questions, I guess like there's some moments where I feel like I like the urgency, and I like how, okay, as it progresses, it's supposed to be more time is allotted to each sub-dream, but it just feels the opposite. It feels like each sub-dream is just more faster and less time, and I like how that opposite turn of events kind of unfolded. And again, I do feel like there were some things that they started to skip over, because I do wish that we got to see the Leo and Ellen Page go under before they went into the Oblivion or the next level. We just got to see Ellen Page wake up on the ground, but we didn't get to see them kind of go under, and that kind of set up there. And then again, I would have liked to have properly understood the whole setup of Leo washing up on the shore and going to see Ken Watanabe when he was like an old man, because I don't understand that difference in time with what happened with Leo, and like, did his world just collapse and he just jumped dreams over to Ken's? Like, I don't understand like how he was able to pull that off, or why Ken aged like 30, 40 years on him.
Well, yeah. So the reason Saito's older is because you see him like die earlier in the snow level, like before they go under. And in that's like the amount of time, like he was down there for, what was it, 2 minutes in the snow level, but that's equivalent to, whatever, 30, 40 years, as you're saying. in limbo. So that's why he's older.
Okay.
And then I guess to answer why they're in the, like, they're still in the shared dream, right? Like, they're still in that same device that connected them in the airplane, right? So that, like, they'd still share that same dream. The reason it's Cobb's world is because they said earlier in the movie that limbo is just this raw, unconstructed area. You can't create it, but unless someone who's been there before is in the dream with you, and then it will just, that's like the default. That's like what will be created, and then you could create more after that. So Saito goes and creates his like dojo thing, whatever he's hanging out in. But at first it's that, like, the base of that dream is based off Cobb's limbo because he's been there before.
And I think, Taylor, how he washes up there again after with Maul's, because if you notice, Maul stabs him. So I think what they're trying to insinuate that he dies, so then he has to wash up on the shore again. So it's like he's getting kicked into more limbo, but it's still, he can't go any further. It's just limbo. So it's like a restart of the level. So that's why when he's talking with Saito, he is like, I've come back to tell you something, but he doesn't even fully remember, and he's starting to lose grasp. So I think that's what they're trying to say, that he died when Maul stabbed him, but obviously he's not dead. It's just a dream. So it just kicks him again. But that's why his memory was fuzzy, and they start kind of repeating quotes to one another to be like, okay, I'm starting to remember now. And then the only reason, because he didn't have, when he died, when Maul stabbed him, his intention was not to go back to the real world. It was to stay to get him. Or with Saito, when Saito shoots him and himself, they know it's the fake world. They know it's a dream world, and their intention is to go back up.
And they go through all the layers, like when that happens.
Yeah.
Here's another question. So they can't kill themselves because it sends them down to limbo. So
because they're sedated.
Because they're sedated. So why can't they just, I guess they manifested all of these different scenarios, or architecture. They built them, like falling off the bridge and the elevator and all these different scenarios so they could be like kicked back. So if someone dies and is sent into limbo, why can't they just construct a kickback of their own?
Well, they
like,
did.
Why couldn't Seta just, instead of building his dojo, why didn't he just build a bathtub and fall in it or something like that?
Well, because the idea is, if you look at Leo, when he gets there, he doesn't have all his memories, right? And the reason he gets them back is because he's speaking with Saito. If you think about Saito's point of view, he just gets down there and he's very confused, and he has no one to bounce anything off of.
Right.
So that's my interpretation.
So you lose your memories. Okay.
The longer that he's down there, the less it's gonna. That's my interpretation, at least, is that's why he was down there. He had no one to bounce off of, and we've even seen that he explains that Leo with Maul, it affects people differently. Leo eventually figured out that was not the real world, but she didn't. So that's why he had to go into her brain and plant that idea, right?
So is that why when Leo is like sitting down, he's eating his Fruit Loops, sitting with Saito, is that why he just looks so like?
Yeah, he's trying to, because he's lost some of it. Yeah, we were talking about that while you were gone.
Shit, I remember this guy.
He has the amnesia of it, but he's still like so trained. He's been there before. That I think it comes back. Whereas Saito, Cobb's like level 100. He's like max level.
Yeah,
in this world, whereas Saito's still like level 3 or 4.
First day on the job.
He doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah. Like we didn't even see him. Like, I guess it's second day because they put him through that dream. But then when they did the training montage of Joseph Gordon-Levitt getting kicked, this and that, I don't think Saito got any more reps in. So it's just like dream number
he's busy
2.
Running the biggest energy company in the world.
Yeah. So it's just like he's going in there. So that's the other thing. He doesn't have the grasp Leo does, who Leo at least has been down there too, and he's come out of it, right? So he kind of, and he's pulled off Inception. So it's kind of like that, my Ames theory of just like he's a bit more, he's the most experienced out of all of them.
Yeah. I just I wasn't fully like, I don't know, sure on like what happens to you when you go to limbo. So it does make sense that he because I don't know. I was just always confused why he just looked at Saito like, who are you? And he just looks like so distraught,
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of makes sense.
And that's also movie world too. Whenever you have a location like Limbo introduced, that's when you can break any rules, where it's like, well, we can do anything down here, right? And I think they explain it well enough, but it's not a thing where people say, oh, I have a problem with how it works. It's like, yeah, I could see that, because that's where you take their creative limit. It's the same thing. Like, we won't get into it until the next review, but I have the same thing with Interstellar, where it's very particular, and at one point it's just like, fuck it, we're going really spacey, we're going really crazy and out there. And that's what I think sometimes this movie does. We talk about Prestige, that movie does that too. At one point it just hits the fuck it button. It's like, oh, it was magic, now it's sci-fi, and I think this movie kind of does that with Limbo a little bit, even though explaining some stuff.
I think Travis is I think Travis had it completely right there, where like whenever Cobb hits the button on that machine, he goes under again. Like, when he wakes up there, he knows what's going on. Even when they go into limbo the first time, he knows what's up. But since he gets killed by Maul there and like washes up again, like that's it's not like he put himself in that situation. He's like cognizant.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to him. Like after he gets killed there, I don't know how he ends up in the water. It's like I don't really get that. Honestly, I couldn't really give you
Get a
full explanation.
Titanic
I guess he
dream or
just dies
something.
again, and then you wash up on a shore, which I also think is kind of a funny joke because like right before that, or just like 10 minutes before, Fisher jokes about how, oh, why couldn't you guys just dream up a beach or something?
Yeah.
It's kind of funny that Cobb ends up washing up on a beach. Like it's 15 minutes later, or years later, whatever it is in Dream World. But
In Dreamworld, yeah.
yeah.
I kind of have another question.
Or Jessica, is your point on this topic?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, we'll do that
Okay,
before you go.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, go.
So I have one thing that I'm just kind of wondering about is how exactly did they get back Saito and Cobb, because everyone had to go with this kick, and then there was no kick, and he woke up on the plane seconds later, so it's not like the sedation ended in that 1 second.
Well, I think that is because how different the time goes. So in my opinion, what happens is their sedation was done. Everybody could have been waking up at the same time, but because the time works differently, that they don't have the sedation anymore. So anytime they shoot themselves, they're just going to pop back up. That's how I take it, as far as they're just sitting there and like they wake up. But the thing is, again, I feel the time works differently in Limbo. So for the first level, that's only a few minutes. For Leo and Saito, that might feel like a few months, or obviously Saito a lot longer.
He's a little crusty at the end
yeah.
there.
So, but I think the kick was just by the time they kick themselves and they realize they're going to match it with the sedation, because the sedation's starting to run off for everyone else as well, too, right?
Well, no, because they used the kick because of the sedation, right? That was how they all got back, is they rode the kick all the way up.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
the sedation ended though for everyone, like it worn off, and so that's why they were able to actually do an execution to pop back. They didn't.
Yeah, but
need
how
kick
are they
anymore.
supposed to know that it would worn off on everyone?
That
Leap of
doesn't make
faith.
sense. That doesn't make sense.
They say that, right?
It wore off, because if you say that it wore off, then why did they need the kick? Because everyone was so panicky.
Because that was during though.
No,
That was during the sedation.
Yeah, and this is still during the sedation, because if the sedation wore off at that exact moment, they wouldn't be worried about the second kick hitting the water, because they would be like, oh, we missed the kick, but the sedation's about to wear off, so it doesn't matter. But it's not. Everyone's in a big panic.
But to me, the kicks are still, they still got to wake up, right? If they don't get any kicks, they just still wake up. So that's where, to me, that wakes them up. And then
but if the sedation was done, then the kick could just be them shooting themselves in the head.
It could be, but I guess they just have to go with the plan and go with what they've timed, I guess.
But the killing of themselves is like a clean slate. Like it pops them out of the dreams completely, right? The kick isn't like a reset. It just bumps them from dream to dream. So maybe that's what they had to do, because if they just shot, they would go to limbo, or when the drugs wore off, they would just completely wake up, and they couldn't have that. They had to go back to that first dream, right? To fulfill that with the uncle. And
yeah, because you're right, because if they just shoot themselves and kill themselves, the dream's over. He doesn't have that realization, Fisher, until they have that water truck, and he goes, you know what, Uncle Peter, like, I am gonna stop this. I'm gonna end my father's company and do something. But they need that idea to take. So if they're, like Taylor said, if they're not in that dream and they don't get that scene, the idea might not take. Eames even says that, as far as, oh, we did Inception, we pulled it off, but when we woke up, the guy just didn't take it, it failed. So I think that's what Taylor's right. He still doesn't have that realization yet. If they just kill themselves, they wake up, and maybe killing Murphy, it's like, that was a weird dream, and he goes about his day. They don't have it confirmed that it worked.
I wonder if part of it is that by the time Saito and Cobb shoot themselves to wake up, that all the other dreamers, like obviously Ariadne's the snow one, Arthur's creating the hotel, and then Yusuf's creating the rainy city, like they're already awake at that point, or like those dreams don't exist anymore. I guess, I don't know, does that make any sense at all, or is that
the awake part does. I always assume that, like everyone else is awake, Leo and Ken Watanabe are still sleeping, because when they wake, like there's Joseph Gordon-Levitt's giving them that face, Fisher's having a towel and whatnot. So we could assume maybe they did just all wake up at the same time, but you also don't know. It's kind of that same thing we've talked about.
Well,
they could have just woken up. Go ahead, Chris.
That's the interesting thing that I found, was because each layer, like, time just gets stretched and stretched, right? Where it's like when you're actually in like the snow realm, we'll just call it, because that's a fun word, but like they have multiple months, but it's still like they're all like, it's still relative to that first dream, even though it seems like a week for whoever's like, I guess it would be Yusuf in this point, in the first area, like he only has a week, but when they're down there for multiple months, like it's the exact same time in real life world. So I just took it. But like the interesting thing there is when you incorporate the limbo, because they technically could have been in there forever and would have no idea, and then they would just wake up and see those two guys just looking limp, like what? Like,
well, yeah, and I
don't
guess they
know.
leave him on the plane, right? But then it's even then
But it
when
all
they
kind of worked out, right? Like it was just
did,
like,
yeah.
We got lucky there.
But it's the same thing as we don't know with Dom and Maul how long. They said they were in limbo for years, but it looks
50
like
years,
but it
something
looks like when they woke up, they didn't lose any time with their kids or anything like that. It looked like it all happened within the same night of when they were just lying there on the floor, right? So it's another kind of movie thing of like we don't know exactly how long. Go ahead, Jessica.
Yeah.
Well, it's 2.5 years in the dream world is 1 hour. So 25 years. So 25 hours. So, I mean, it's only like 2 days that they were asleep on the floor.
Those poor kids.
The weekend.
I'm sure they stayed with Michael Caine. Yeah, the week. Yeah,
The
you need to watch
grandmother.
it, Grandpa.
I'm not speaking to him.
Jesus.
Do you
what a
think that
bitch.
they recreated their kids, or like they just want to get away from the kids and go to Dreamland, or like 'cause I feel bad for the kids. They're the victims of this.
Oh, they definitely are. But like
I think they explained it as it's just you can't. There is no world like this world, right? Like that's why Ariadne came back to the studio after seeing all this fucked up shit, because there's nothing quite like it, right? Like they could create all of their houses they ever had in the real world.
Yeah.
Right
Well,
It's a
especially
drug.
a character like Ariadne, who's an architect. It's just like that's the perfect location to like
yeah, she can
practice
flip
your
cities
creations.
on top of
Exactly.
each other, right?
That's fucking dope. Yeah.
Like Taylor, you could have multiple
builder.
Assassin's Creed worlds, like
you
all
could build
at once.
Terra.
It's Jurassic Park.
Oh, it'd be Jurassic Parks and Bionicle Land. It'd be everything.
And Terra.
I have a question that I've kind of now just thought about based on this conversation we're having. So if in Limbo the first time when Cobb, like he can't get killed by Maul because then he would wake up right then, or is that what you guys are saying? Where like the compound is still active, like when Maul kills him when she stabs him the first time,
Well, maybe because
or is it that I'm thinking now it doesn't make sense for him to have died there. He just had to get stabbed and then like I don't know, just kind of he's fumbling around for a bit, ends up on the beach somehow. Like I'm kind of questioning that now. I haven't thought about this before.
Yeah, well, that's why I think there could be a hole there because I feel like if he's stabbed, I don't know how he gets to the beach, and he doesn't seem to be injured. He seems to be distraught, but he doesn't seem injured. I just took it as the reason he's still going down to limbo because, like you said, either one, the sedative is still working at that point, or it's a mind over matter thing, and he wants to stay in that dream and he wants to get. That might break some of the logic of it, but they've kind of put that idea as like, oh well, it's a mind over matter thing. But I think that is like. That's one of the hardest things in that situation in the movie to get back to that exact same scene at the beginning of the movie.
Is part of like waking up from limbo that you have to like intentionally, how am I going to like you have to intentionally kill yourself? Is that like the only way out of limbo? Is that why Cobb didn't get knocked out that way because he got stabbed by someone else?
I would assume that's where I broaden the whole mind over matter thing because like it sounds bad, but like really he could have killed Maul when they're in limbo, right? When she was not wanting to leave, but he had to physically go put the idea in her head that she needed to think this world's not real. So he could have just been like, oh, honey, let's have dinner at the top of a rooftop tonight and push her. But maybe for some reason that doesn't work. Maybe it has to be your own will. And because if that is the case, my wife might be a little mad, but I think in the long run, she would be thankful, like, oh, good thing you pushed me off that building. I really lost such reality. Well, let's live my life instead of me going into her mind and warping her to make her actually kill herself.
I don't think it would have to be up to her because if you look at when they were experimenting with the drug and it allows free fall, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, they kept pushing him over and he kept breaking out, right? So I feel like that anyone.
But that was on the outside world, right? I'm talking about in limbo, like with Leo and Maul stuck together. There's no one on the outside world pushing them. I think it as like someone on the outside world has like if Michael Caine walked in and those two were still asleep, he could wake them up because he's on the other side. But because those two are locked in the dream, they have to do it themselves in a way. Because like I said, then I don't know why he'd have to incept her.
He's just
That's definitely a whole like idea that I really didn't grasp the first 1.5 times that I'd seen this movie was because of just like him incepting like Maul. Like I feel like I just kind of missed that the first watch. Jessica, you must have skipped out there. Or, yeah. Sorry about that.
Oh, it's all good. Another question too is how did Maul and Dom get down that far?
They were just experimenting.
They just kept going deeper and deeper, I think.
So
I
what?
think
So
that's
one
what
went
they
into
said.
one's dream, and then in that dream they went into the other person's
Yeah.
dream. And then
I
It was a
don't
parody.
know. I didn't take it that they were going in dreams within dreams. I think they just went into just one level of their dream and just created it, right? And then
That's what
the
I think too,
subconscious
yeah.
that they
Yeah.
bought him out in, that's just the baseline because they're going into Leo's dream.
That
I
or they
thought-
went in like one dream and then killed themselves to get put into limbo.
Yeah, because when they went into that last dream to go and get back Fisher, it was only Ellen Page and Leo, right? So that was going into Leo's
Yeah, because
dream
they
at that
put the
point.
IV into his arm specifically
Yeah.
to go there. So
So
yeah, that's interesting.
yeah, I always just thought that they did just keep going deeper and deeper because wasn't that like the fear of them doing that in the first place?
Yeah, I thought they went deeper and deeper too. I thought they said like, let's see how deep we can go. And I guess
So-
if we go that route, it is just every dream. Like, okay, you host the first one, I host the second one, you host the third one. Like that's what it is. It's like multiple on top of each other.
But so they must have used sedation then, like to
Yeah,
get into
they-
limbo,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that makes more sense.
Well, that's how they knew
They homebrewed some stuff.
Yusuf, or yeah,
Homebrewed.
Yusuf's his name, right?
Yusuf,
Yusuf,
Yeah.
Yusuf.
the
Well, I
drug
mean,
man.
based on that, you could say that like the first level is Maul, then Cobb, then Maul, and then Cobb is Limbo, and that's why when they go back into Cobb again, he's already past those levels. So I don't know. I'm reaching.
I
Well,
love this retro because it's never been so many questions asked, and it's fun. Honestly, it's like there's theorizing.
And
Yeah, like,
Anyways.
I
I
guess
like that
if-
I've seen this movie 20 times. I still don't know all the answers to these.
Yeah.
Like, 100%,
I guess if,
because
like-
every time I watch it, I feel like there's maybe one or two more little things that I'm like, oh, maybe that's a problem. But then I can
Yeah.
kind of, I think at the end of the day, you can say like Yusuf's compound is accounting for that. Like that's almost like a band-aid that you could put over like many problems.
Yeah,
Maybe isn't the most elegant, but maybe it works.
is what
Yeah,
it
like
is.
I would assume if Dom wasn't in this mission, if they went to limbo, it would just be blank. But because he's been there, he's bringing those thoughts in there. So I think
Right.
no matter
Right.
who goes in the limbo, that's why because he's connected, it's Dom's limbo. But if he was out of it, it would just be okay. It's just I guess a beach maybe, or maybe what someone would experience. We
Yeah.
don't know why it's a beach. That could just be where him and Maul met or something. I don't know, but that's
Yeah,
for the video game that I said on Twitter that I'm waiting for. It's been 10 years. We haven't got a video game. Like I don't understand. Like it just perfect. Print money. There'd be so much. Go ahead.
If it came
there.
up today, I guarantee they'd put the characters in Fortnite.
Oh,
let's
no.
go. Yeah. So, how do they get to limbo? Like with Ariadne and Cobb, do they like? Does one person just dream that, or like? I feel like I'm a little fuzzy on that.
I think it's
They went into
because
Cobb, yeah.
That's Leo's dream, Cobb's dream.
no,
was Leo's dream.
no. I think it's because Saito and Fisher are already there, so like that layer already is created by them, and that's like the next layer.
And
Yeah,
then
they're
do
going
they
into
just
that
go
because it's
to
still in the
sleep through
shared
the
dream.
machine?
What's that?
Oh, because they hook
Yeah.
up. They
They
hook
always
up
have that
Fisher, right?
briefcase. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
yeah. Fisher is
Yeah,
the
okay.
second one to get them there, and then this one's Leo. I think it's the way Dylan says, or it is just the way because even Saito is really impressed when Leo is doing 2 dreams to them. So if it is the thing of they say deeper and deeper, there might just be a thing where he knows like that you go 3, and if you go 4th, that's limbo. Like you can only go so deep before your mind is lost. So that's how I've kind of taken it over the years.
It's interesting though because each level you need a set dreamer, right? Like I don't know.
Except for Limbo. Limbo's like the exception to that because
Yeah.
it's just like this raw space that's like, I don't know, created between everyone. And
So-
because Cobb has already created it, like that's the starting point for Limbo because everyone's connected to that same machine in the airplane and Cobb is also part of that.
And he was at Limbo at one point in time, so now it's just his. He's the king of Limbo.
Yeah.
He's the king of Limbo.
Yeah. So from the Snow Fortress, like that is technically Fisher's dream, right? Because they hook him up in the hotel because they're like, oh, let's go into this guy's dream because they think it's Browning, but
Well-
then they actually are going into Fisher's, right?
It is too because I think the reason is when he says why not a beach because they said he has a training. So I think to get in deep in his mind, whoever trained him has made it. It's a fortress. It's snow. There's lots of guards. That's to me part of the subconscious training that they've made it very difficult.
Yeah,
to get past.
because
Yeah.
well, they were talking about that earlier on the film. They're like,
But-
yeah, an idea to get their secrets is we just kind of implant the idea of having a fortress, and then they naturally put their secrets in there. Like,
Yeah.
like you don't have to do anything there.
Yeah,
they
no,
just naturally
I'm
do it.
pretty sure it's Ariadne's dream, right? Because she still created like the air ducts that go through the building. Like Fisher didn't create that building; she
She's
created
the
it.
architect, but
Yeah,
I
you
thought
might
the
be
architect
right.
was different from the dreamer. No,
Yes,
supposed
but
to be,
in
yeah.
that case, I think she's both. I think so.
Yeah,
Okay,
and because she is the one that wakes up in the elevator to show it's her dream, but
Yeah. So see, I was a little confused on just the tracking of like whose dream it was. I was trying to do that this time around because I knew that there had to be basically the dreamer. Like that was the reason why Arthur got left behind. That's the reason why Yusuf got left behind because, like they have to be the ones in that dream. So
I think the way it works is that they being like Cobb, or I guess in this case Mr. Charles, tell Fisher that they're going in his dream, but they're really going in Ariadne's. I'm pretty sure that's how it goes.
And then, I'm sorry if I missed this question, but what happens to the set dreamer when they wake up? Does everyone just get pulled out of it? Or is it just the dream just becomes unstable? And then like what happens if they technically get stuck there?
I don't know that was really brought up or discussed.
Yeah, like what happens if you have Yusuf, who's the dreamer, and then everyone else is 3 levels down, but he woke up from his dream. So technically they should have been brought back because that's dreams within dreams. And then like a dream up here is just kind of taken away. Like
I think if they're still in the dream, that they would still go to it. So even if Yusuf is not in that rainy New York thing, like driving them around, they're still there. Like their bodies are still there.
Even if he's woken up though? Like wouldn't you think that the whole dream was just gone?
Doesn't that get brought up when they're experimenting in the beginning and Cobb and Ariana or whatever her name is are in a dream and then she like jumps awake and then all of a sudden Cobb's there too. He just wakes up as well. They're in
so it just pulls them out of it, is what you're saying?
That's what it seemed like.
Yeah, that's what I kind of thought. And whose dream level it is for the fortress is actually Aim's dream that they put him under. He's the guy who's hosting the dream.
Really?
It's Yusuf on the plane, and then the first dream level it's Arthur. The second one it's Eames, and then the third one it's Cobb to the dreamland.
I guess
and
that
then
makes
it's just
sense.
kind of limbo.
I guess that makes sense because he's the one setting up the bombs. But I just thought that was because he was the one who didn't want to go to limbo because he's like, I don't care about you enough, Cobb, to go into limbo for you, man.
Yeah. Respect the
that's good to know.
I'll go ahead and throw this out there.
I guess it still makes sense because she still created the fortress. He just drained it. So that's why she knows that there's an air duct system.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she was the architect for every level. So she, I guess, wasn't in any of the levels because she was creating them. So she wasn't bringing them because you need the 3 people.
They're just the host of the dream.
And I guess too, I would feel like you'd have to bring her along for all of them, and she could never potentially be the person that has to sit there with the bomb or the kick, because then you may lose her and she might not be able to give you that information if you go somewhere.
That's where I was kind of, I don't know, tinfoil hat theory here. But like, I thought that when they originally went to limbo, I thought that was technically like Ariadne's dream.
No,
like I thought she was the dream host there.
All Cobb there. That was Cobb.
Cobb.
Yeah. All Cobb.
Well,
all
no,
day.
Man.
It's at least most of it is Cobb. I mean, by the time they get there, Saito has created some stuff.
Yeah.
So like,
I
mean, he's created his temple. Who knows what else he's created? But like, in terms of that city environment that they're in, that's all Cobb. Hence why his kids are walking around, I think, and like why he can go past his houses.
No, the kids are there because that's his subconscious.
Yeah, right. But I mean, he's still like created all that stuff either way, right? Like
the skyscrapers in the back.
Yeah.
And
perfectly symmetrical.
And that's why they're all falling apart, is because no one's been down there creating for however long in this time, because an hour in the real world is 2.5 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not been maintained.
Apparently there was a comment that I missed. Apparently we all missed that Yusuf said the team cannot create more than 3 stable levels of a dream, and therefore going one more down will be limbo.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
Okay,
So they knew. And also it does say that Cobb and Maul performed experiments to see how deep they could travel within their own minds.
Oh yeah, they did.
So eventually they manually dropped themselves into limbo.
Yeah, because I'm guessing when they did it, when Yusuf says in our timeline of like, oh, you can only go down so deep, I bet when they did it, no one really knew yet. Like that was still unknown ideas, as far as it was probably new technology, new ideas. How far can we go? And if Yusuf and him seem pretty close, because Yusuf is like an enabler. He's like putting him in these dreams to hang out with his dead wife, and he's just always like, hi Ellen Page, like have a good night, and he's like brushing her away, which like I get it because it's for the plot story and whatnot, but man, what an intruder for him to be dreaming Ellen Page just to jump in his dream like willy-nilly. So like, what if it was Bill's wife? Yeah, what if he was just
a sex dream or
something?
Yeah,
what if it was a sex dream and he's enjoying it? It's just like if someone knew you're watching porn and they just like bust in like, hey, what you watching, bro? It's just like, leave the man alone. His wife's dead. He has no kids. He's lonely. If he wants to hang out with his dead wife for an hour to have dinner with her, let him be. it works because it's great for the movie. And I love that scene. It's so creepy.
Oh,
and
it's so creepy, dude.
just everything,
I
like when
still get
she-
chills when I
yeah,
watch
when she
it.
turns and the big jump scare in theaters, that was one of the loudest jump scares ever because it's not a jump scary movie until that point. But and then when she's just like running at the elevator screaming, that's why I still think, like I said at the beginning of this review, I think Nolan has a horror movie in him somewhere. This is very much like Nightmare on Elm Street 2 with the dreams and everything. Like I really want to see him do something trippy like that. The same way Kubrick did The Shining. In this movie, there's shades of it. All the mall stuff is great, but I love her going into the dream because it's really good. The music, the score, and everything about it.
The music is great, but I also want a big shout out to the sound design of that particular scene as well, because when Ariadne first sees Maul, like she's watching them in their hotel room, they're chilling on the couch, and as soon as Maul like peeks over to her, just like is this loud like thump sound.
Oh, dude,
it's like intense. And then later when Maul is like chasing at them towards the elevator, there's like 2 of those pangs.
Yeah.
And then even like walking through and they like break the wine glasses, and then it like just pierces and goes all around the speakers.
Nice ring to it, yeah.
Yeah, like they mastered that like thriller element with that particular scene with the
and something like the wine glass, it comes back multiple times in the movie when he's talking to Fisher, like a bartender breaks it and you go, oh, is that just the bartender breaking that, or is that his subconscious? But then you see the kids, so you know, oh, he's bugging out. And then everybody turns, that same thing, the horror thing, everyone turns and looks at him.
It's the freakiest thing. I don't know why that's so scary, but when everyone just like turns to the viewer and I'm like, holy shit.
Because that's what he does better. That's why I want him to do one, is because in lots of bad horror movies, they'd be blaring the music, blaring. He uses that jump scare boom sound with Maul one time, and the rest, like Dylan says, they use it, but it's not like to get a loud reaction at you. When those people turn, it just, there's no score, there's no sound, it's just quiet, and you can hear the rain, and you see the people, but then once Leo cools down, they'll go back and they talk normally. And I love that stuff. It's so good. And the glass breaks like a few times. And obviously when we get to that real scene of what happened, that to me is Leo's best scene in the movie, is him trying to talk them all down. And then when she does jump, just him like losing it. I think that's the best he is in this movie. I think he's not bad, but I'm just saying that is his really good scene. Because lots of it, he is like the guy on the mission.
It's just classic Leo for most
of
the movie.
He's great. Yeah, it's you wouldn't really expect anything less from him. But he kills it in this movie. But that is my favorite scene of kind of the reveal. And even the way he tells it, it's done really well, because there is lots of exposition, but that is sometimes the hardest thing to pull off, and every character does it well, whether it's pairing with music, whether it's comedic beats, or whether it's like that. He's explaining how some dreams work and how Maul died, but it doesn't feel in a way of like, oh, I'm going to tell you why you should care about this. He's telling a story to her right before something happens. And same thing, I love that they hold on that reveal of Inception, because that's what I was talking about at the opening. I love at the beginning of the movie, you don't know if you could trust him, because when I was watching it, I was like, oh, this guy might have killed his wife. Like, he's kind of a shady guy. You don't know, like, he's left his kids, he's jumping state to state, he's on the run, he's screwing people over. Like, even when he fails that mission, it's not like, oh, I got to go talk to people. He's like, well, we've been caught. We're screwed. We're just running.
For it,
yeah, we're just running, which is not like, obviously he has to, but it's, again, a shady guy. So even at the end when he tells that story and you think, oh, okay, she just killed herself, there's still more to be revealed, that like, no, he feels really guilty because she killed herself because he put that idea. And so that's what I love. And I feel like it's Nolan's, we've talked about that before with Prestige and whatnot, but it's kind of that similar where it's a character that is unreliable, and that's why Ellen Page works so well, because she is the viewer's eyes as far as the dream world, and with Cobb, she's getting all the information in. So
yeah, it's interesting. I never thought, like, I don't know, when I was first, I mean, we'll just take this viewership when I was watching it this time around, but I didn't really have the inkling that he would be one to murder someone. And like when he says originally, like, oh yeah, people think that I'm the one that killed her, that's why I basically had to flee the country and I can't go back and all that stuff, I was always just like, I don't know, like why, like, I don't know, I'm not getting that feeling from it until you see the scene with like the hotel room, and it's just all broken and everything, and she completely fucks him over. She completely fucks him over. She what is it, get 3 therapists saying that she's completely fine, and then she like messages the police basically saying like, this man wants to kill me. It's just like, wow, like what a major way to fuck this guy over. But again, it was his own doing. It was his own doing, right? So
the one thing that I have a problem with about that is that she's on the other ledge. Meaning, like, did she get a second hotel room?
Yeah, she did.
I took it she just like shimmied around that corner, because like the ledge kind of goes around the corner. I don't know, but
she's sitting in the window, like she's in another room.
Yeah.
I feel like there's got to be some kind of inclination where it's like, hey, police, look at how she fell from this other window directly across from me. And
I guess
you have
she just
to have
set it up
hotel
so
footage
well
of
that,
her like
I just take it that she like put so much effort into framing him that it just was like, even if a lawyer brought that up in court, it's like it wouldn't undo all these other things
Yeah,
that
because
they had like as proof against him.
And
right?
she was sane, right? Like she got
Yeah.
that checked out through the therapist.
it
So.
would show she's not suicidal. It would show that he made threats, but also, which is like it worked out in the end. But he chose to run, which would not look good. He like whoever his friend is buys him a plane ticket.
Yeah.
And he says like it's now or never. So it's like he could have stayed there, made that case, but and they show that. That's why I brought up the job thing, because it shows multiple times if he fails, he just runs. He doesn't try to deal with the consequences. He's just running away, and they talk about that several times. So I feel like him on the run wouldn't help his case. Of like, oh, like he couldn't run and then come back and be like, oh, she killed herself. Like, all right, like, and it does show how powerful Sato must be, that he just makes one phone call and the guy's
He's a very
crimes
powerful man.
the crimes are completely gone, which I always think is like, that's for me one of the not a plot hole, but that's one of the things where I have to really suspend my disbelief, because it's like I know there's powerful men, but like that is like that he has to be like the fucking president to be making that call to get like this guy's murder
That's not
charge,
what
get
you
his
want.
kids back, his passport in one call too. Doesn't take days. It's on
He's a
that
puppet
flight.
master, man. He's pulling the
Yeah.
strings in the White House.
Well, he controls almost half the energy of the world.
Yeah, I guess so. I
That is
gotta
a hard
do that.
flex.
You know?
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Like, you want to charge your iPhone?
Yeah,
Well,
he's
that's
like,
me,
listen,
buddy.
Massachusetts, if you don't let Dawn back in, I'm gonna cut off your Wi-Fi. All right? Who
Well,
cares
that's
if he killed his wife?
that's the same for the Iron Man. He can go across borders and fight wherever he wants because he's got technology, leading tech guy in the world. So that's all you
Totally.
need.
I don't know if that's the same, because Iron Man in the beginning of the movie hides his identity, but that's fine. What other questions do we got?
Let's just get right to the end with the spin.
This is the easiest one.
the
Yeah.
spin, not the ending.
Well,
So,
the
yeah,
two things is
Answer it,
one.
easy man.
Well,
It better be
because
5 words or less. If that's if it's that
okay,
easy.
I'll answer this. Here's your 5 word less. What is Cobb's totem?
Not. I mean, Mal's totem.
Oh,
Yeah, but what is his?
Darth Maul's totem. He
No,
doesn't
it's
have one.
not. His totem is his wedding ring. In all the dreams, he has his wedding ring on.
What?
Yeah,
That's never talked about once.
but that's why it's not, because, and if you look, I have in the trivia, Nolan at times would purposely not show his left hand so you wouldn't know. You have to be looking out for it. But he does not have the ring on in the real world. In the dream world, he has the ring on. So that is his totem, because they also set that up at the beginning when they go, you cannot have someone else's totem because right away it's broken because they know how much it weighs. I know someone might say, oh, Maul's dead, so it doesn't count. But it's like, it's not his totem. The ring is his totem. So he never says that's his totem. He shows it.
I big disagree with that.
That's
yeah,
fine.
Let's
That's
go,
fine.
Dylan.
But to me,
Like,
that
Nolan can say that,
Be
but
your
that's
thought.
not in the movie. Like that
he's
is
never
entirely
said that. He's never said. He's gone on record and said that he doesn't think it's, when they ask him about the answer, he says he's awake, and that's he says two things. He says he's awake with his kids, and he says even if he wasn't, he wouldn't care. He just wants to live in that world because he's passive. But Nolan didn't say the ring thing. The ring thing's a theory, but he's just said he's awake. I think it is the ring, because I think the reason Nolan doesn't shoot the left hand, and there would be no one so meticulous. The same thing with the reason why I chose the song. The movie is the same length as the song in ours. I think with the ring, there's a reason to put it in the dream world, and that's his totem.
Yeah, I think that's a great theory, but
it is, yeah.
like I don't take that as truth. Like I don't even care if Nolan says he's awake at the end. Like that's like after he's put this movie out in the world, it's not his anymore in a way. It's like up to the interpretation of the viewers at that point. And that's why I don't
disagree
have
with
an
that
answer.
statement.
What's that?
Yeah, I think it's still his.
movie.
Yeah, I don't. It's like if
You know
if
what I'm
someone,
saying. You know what I'm saying.
It
Obviously,
is,
he
but if he
created
said,
it and
if
gets
he
the
was
money
just,
when someone streams the movie on Netflix, that's not.
yeah, but if he just came out and someone's like, I didn't understand part, he's like, oh yeah, he's awake. Yeah, I just want to put it that way. Like even the same way Taylor says, like I still think they show the spinner falling. I think they just don't give you that release, but it's like the thing is toppling, it's about to fall. So I feel like in multiple
you
ways.
don't know that.
Well,
But
Maybe it's
it
just
doesn't.
catching
But
speed.
every other time he spins,
It's like one of those
it's-
Beyblades that has like the extra button that makes it
every
spin even
time he
faster
spins it,
before
it spins like a motherfucker. But this time it's wobbling. I just feel like he puts in multiple signs to be like, he's fucking awake, everybody. Like, don't worry,
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think there is an answer to it. I think that's like, for me, that's like the best reality where there isn't there isn't just a truth to that. And who am I to say whether he's awake or not in the end? I think that's what makes it so great. I
Yeah.
think that's why I wanted to watch it in theaters so many times, because I wanted that answer. I've watched it 20 times since, and I still don't have that answer. I have one that like is probably what I think it is, but I don't think there is an answer. I think to me that's like the best way to look at it. But
Well, yeah, the whole thing, like with that ring theory, yeah, it's fun. I don't really buy it because every time that he's gotten out of a dream, it's not like he you see him pull out his ring, like he immediately grabs that top, spins it, and then he's like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I'm good. Like I'm not in a dream
Nice
anymore."
hair
all these
pushed
things.
back.
Yeah, that was really nice.
So I will say that there is like this is from what I know as well. There is a post on Reddit where someone did point this out, and there's multiple screenshots kind of contributing to the fact that he wears his ring in dreams and not in reality. So there's
So he
like
wouldn't have the totem, right? Or are you saying he would have it on his pocket or something?
The ring is if he's wearing it, he's in the dream. That's how he knows that he's dreaming. It's because he's got his wedding ring.
Oh, but he doesn't wear it. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
But also on another point, because your question was, how do we know what the ending is? Apparently, just 4 days ago, Michael Caine let it slip that Nolan told him any scene that he was in was awake, not a dream.
And the other thing too that people point out with the kids is when you look at them, they're in different outfits, but that doesn't matter because they could have different outfits, but their hair is longer. Now people could say, oh, if I had long hair, but I think the point is they show the kids with the shorter hair in the dream. So then when he sees them with longer hair, it shows that time has progressed, and he couldn't be able to dream that up because you have to pull from what you know. So I again think that's another sign that you see the faces, you've seen them grown up, and you've seen changes to their physical appearance, shows that he couldn't make that up. You have to draw on what you've had before,
Maybe
right?
someone else is making that up.
Maybe that's a sequel.
Yeah, that was like another just like random theory I had in my mind that I thought was pretty interesting. I never thought of it before. I don't know how much momentum it has on the interwebs, but like basically like there's another layer on top of basically the entire movie, and the entire movie is this second layer. And then when they go deeper and deeper, like he's already dreaming. That's when he comes out at the end, and his top is spinning. It's not going to end because he's not actually out of that dream. Like there's a whole another layer that's actually reality, and then the second layer, which would be the first dream, is the Inception reality. That's the reality of the movie, but it's not actually real life.
I'm not sure.
I thought it was fun. I thought it was a fun idea. I don't know how much weight it has or anything like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this is the same one tied to your theory, because for a while people had the theory of when he goes to the sleeping whatever camp with Yusuf, and when he gets put under, when he goes into the washroom, if that was his totem, the spinning top, he spins it, and then Watanabe scares him and he knocks the totem, so you never get that answer if it was going to stop spinning or not. So some people have theorized that from that point on the entire movie is a dream. So I'm not sure that could tie into that one you're talking about, how there's the dream, then the Inception, everything like that, but that's been a popular theory that the whole second half is a dream and he's just stuck in this fucking
I wasn't sure how popular it was. I had just seen it and never really thought of it that way, but I don't know. I think it's kind of a fun theory. This movie is fun because there's so many possibilities, right?
I want to know what Taylor thinks. Taylor, what's your theory?
Yeah, Taylor.
I was gonna say that from what I can tell, Christopher Nolan, he's got a soft spot for like the happy ending, and I say that because he loves like the parent reconnecting with the kids.
I don't think the Memento's not a happy ending either.
I haven't seen Insomnia or Memento, so this is my theory based on only what I've seen for Nolan films.
What about The Prestige?
Yeah, what about The Prestige?
Yeah, that counts. So from what I can tell, in Nolan's films, it always ends with Michael Caine happily viewing a family. And The Dark Knight, it's Christian Bale and Hathaway having a nice thing, and he's happy. And then in The Prestige, he's happy because Christian Bale's got the kid, and then he's happy here because he sends off Leo to his kids. It always ends with Michael Caine.
I would have to disagree with you because you bring up The Dark Knight Rises, but in The Dark Knight, it's literally, hey, Batman, you're gonna get framed for all the crimes of Gotham, and we're gonna chase you.
No, we're just kind of that's the trilogy ending, the end of his trilogy. If it was a one-off, that'd be different.
And then even in Dunkirk, when Tom Hardy completes his mission, he's standing on a beach and a bunch of the soldiers have guns pointing to him, and Tom Hardy likely does not make it out of that situation.
I'm sure they're doing Dunkirk too. He's gonna reprise his role.
They're not doing Dunkirk too. Let's see with Tenet. I'll give you a tally of how many movies have ended happy and bad, but I feel like it's legitimately even. It's very. I think he just chooses what happens with the story.
Tenet will be the tiebreaker.
Yeah. But Taylor, you never talked about your theory of you said right. You said it because you think it is real because that'd be a happy ending.
Didn't know this wedding ring thing was a thing. That completely.
Well, how would you? It wasn't discussed in the movie.
Wasn't discussed at all. I'm the kind of guy where keen eyes are great, but I go into a movie theater and I need it laid out to dry for me. I need to see the Transformers fight, and I need to see Godzilla going crazy. And that's okay, I get it. It's an action scene because of the action, but a little ring that's off and on his finger. I mean, Jesus crikey. I mean, how am I supposed to catch that? It's so subtle.
I like that explanation. Yeah.
Any other questions?
I don't think I have any questions. I have a couple other topics to jump into.
I have a question regarding the totems, but I guess that was half answered. I don't know. I'm not really buying the whole ring thing, especially.
It's okay. You don't have to.
If-
You can be
well,
wrong.
how-
You can be on the
Seltzer
wrong side of
commented on it.
history.
How do we know
You-
that he's not just like going through like serious like guilt and conflicts, and he's just like, oh, I love my wife today. I'm putting the ring on you. Oh, you know what? I killed her. I'm gonna yank that
But
ring
how come
off.
he never has it? But that would work if he had it sometimes in the dream world and sometimes in the real world. He never has it specifically in the real world, and in the dream world he has it.
But like,
How do we know
how
he
would it
doesn't-
always? How
I
would
just
the
Sorry.
ring
check
always be
check
on
the
there?
GV chat. I just sent a picture with a bunch of different.
But like, if I'm going to
Examples.
sleep and it's just like, oh, I'm dreaming because I have the ring. It's like, why would there always be a ring when he's dreaming? Why would it not half and half? I don't know.
Because that's his totem. He has that going on. No one's gonna fucking bum rush him and take his ring off in the middle of the dream. Like that's one thing they know he's never gonna lose, right? They're not gonna be like, "Give me that ring, Cobb."
Well,
Yeah, but what
he's-
if the architect didn't have it on him?
No, it-
No, they keep it. They don't hand their totems. That would defeat the purpose. All right, everybody, give me your fucking chest die. Give me your die. Give me your spinny top. No, that would break them all.
No, they still go in with their stuff. The person makes it and someone fills it, and there's the subconscious. But it's not like they have to write out what clothes everyone is
Yeah.
going to be wearing.
What else do we have for Kirklin? Did you have another totem question, or was it just like you said you had something, but I wasn't sure.
I don't know. I think I'm not fully buying the ring thing.
That's
but-
okay. It's okay to be wrong. Many people are wrong all the time, every day.
I mean,
It's also all right to lose in Pokken, but
Ooh,
that's the point.
That's
Wow.
fine.
That was unnecessary, in my opinion.
No, it's fine.
It was a kidney shot. He was pissing me
So
off.
he always has the ring on in the dream state. You're saying, but what?
Yes.
Hang on,
catching
hang on, hang
catching
on.
up with the rest of the
So-
class finally.
He only ever used the totem in the real. Well, I guess no, because he does use that in the dream state. 'Cause I thought that maybe he only used like the spinning dreidel totem in reality, and then only used his ring in the dream state. So he kind of dangled between both of them. But I don't know. That's just.
Kirklin, what was your follow-up totem question, or did you want to move on from that?
No, I don't, because my question was basically why is Cobb's totem Mal's totem? Like I don't know. I didn't really understand that, but I don't know. We're going with the ring theory, I guess. So I don't know. Dylan, what do you think about the ring thing, and like the whole Mal's totem being Cobb's totem? Because you're not buying the ring theory like me, right?
Well, I don't know. Maybe there's some validity to it, but it's like since it's never mentioned
In the
or
movie.
even alluded
Yeah.
to or like anything at all. Like to me, it sounds like a fun fan theory, and I think it's a cool fun fan theory. But
Yeah.
like I don't factor that into like what I think.
Yeah, no,
happened.
I agree with you there. So like what do you think the whole, like, why is he able to use Mal's totem? Just because she's dead and like there's no other person that can actually I don't know, like touch the totem or feel
Yeah,
it.
it could be that simple. It could be like, oh, damn, that's a cool idea for a totem. I'm gonna use that. Like,
Yeah.
he could
The
take that
original totem. It's,
Obviously, they were
it's
so-
literally the OG totem.
Yeah, obviously they were so close, or they spent like so much time together that maybe
Yeah.
he just uses that. But like he never mentions what his totem is in the movie. No one does, and maybe it's
Right.
like on a board, like a blackboard in the background or something. That I don't know. I think it's a cool theory, but I don't
Yeah.
know if I really can
Yeah,
buy it as like an explanation.
I think
I
I
also
agree with
think-
you there.
I also haven't biased. I don't want to because I don't want there to be an answer for the ending. I think that takes away from what makes it so special. And that music that's playing as it fades out, like that's such a special moment. It's probably my favorite movie moment. That's why I went to the theaters multiple times again to figure that all out. And I like
you-
it better without an answer, personally.
Have you written many letters to Christopher Nolan saying you want him to retract his statements about the ending and what's real? And
No, I have not done that.
What would
He
you-
did not mention the ring theory. Apparently, this is a fan theory. so-
Have you thought about what your
Oh.
totem would be, Dylan? Would it just be like a full-on GameCube remote?
I have probably thought about this, but
I
Fits
know
in your pocket
exactly.
very-
10 years
I
ago
know
now.
exactly what it is. Okay, Dylan, your totem is an N64 controller, and if you're in the dream world, there's no rumble pack. In reality, it has the rumble pack.
no, it's not. Maybe that could work. I never used a rumble pack in real life.
I feel like
That's,
that's a pain to
that's way too.
figure- yeah.
That's way too clunky to just
Yeah.
like slap in your pocket. Like the idea is that it's something small that you can.
You got your fanny pack always on you. You're
yeah,
good.
I
Put
don't
it
know
right
if
there.
that's. I could use the cord to tie like a nice necklace around or
Please.
something. Sounds a little. That'd be a little awkward in a movie like this if there was just someone that had an N64 controller on them at all times.
Got a full N64 system with
Yeah.
like the CRT and everything.
You guys have any more to say on that, on like the ending itself, or can we go to another topic?
Yeah, I'm still indifferent on whether I think it's real or not. I like, I don't know, like the explanation you're giving, Dylan. How like I agree with you, honestly. Like when you put that intellectual property out, like out in the world, it's up to the viewer. I don't think it's fully in them to say. I don't know. I don't know how to describe
like in
that
like Mass
perfectly
Effect
well,
or something. Like in some of the Mass Effect games, like there's different endings that you can choose at the end, but then for like the sequel, they'll like pick one as like the canon ending, and it kind of takes it away. But like that's still a decision that you could take, like as a player experiencing that thing, you know?
Yeah, and like I don't know, people might be like, I don't know, well, Christopher Nolan said that, which he's the one that made the film. Okay, but you know, in my head canon, I like to leave it open. And
yeah, like maybe if I was in a room and Christopher
Interesting.
Nolan was yelling at me that like, no, Dylan, you're wrong.
Yeah.
This is the truth. Like maybe then I'd probably never watch the movie again. I'd probably be like just so fearful for my life.
they're just yelling at you. Yeah. It's just like Maul just immediately just like look right at you.
Yeah,
It's like, oh, okay, yeah, sorry.
Start paying, a wine glass breaks in the distance, and all that good stuff. So I like the way we've gone about this review. I feel like we've never really done this before, but we've covered
Just
pretty
all
much
Q&A. Yeah.
We've covered so much in just like this really chaotic way, which I think is perfect for this movie that is so confusing and takes these multiple watches and stuff. But I did want to just like praise the world building of this movie. I think Christopher Nolan's great at this, and Interstellar's next. I'm going to praise him again for that aspect there. I think you could say this about the Batman movies as well, I'm sure. I just think that he does such a great job of creating these worlds where in this world is very similar to ours, but then there's like this stark contrast where there's like this whole concept of like dream sharing and extraction, and that's just pasted over top of our already like lived in world that we have. I think there's so many great ways they go about it. Like I think there is a lot of exposition. We talked about this, and sometimes I think they go a bit far. Like even, for example, when they're in the warehouse and Cobb and Ariadne are talking about like Maul and he's explaining all of like what went on with him and Maul. I feel like there's not enough time for them to do it. Like it doesn't really make sense for them to have that conversation there. Like yes, she needs to know that information, but they're on such a strict timer that like why are they spending time talking about this thing? Like they need to do the job at hand. So there's a couple points like that when I think they maybe go a bit over with the exposition, but for the most, that might even just be something because I've watched the movie so many times that I feel like I know this information. I don't need it explained to me again. So maybe that's part of it as well.
Yeah, for that one like conversation that you were just describing when they're in the dream, I definitely had that thought too. I'm like, there's so much shit going on. Like, how are they just able to, you know, have this exposition piece or whatever, just like fill in the viewer like on what's going on. But at the same time, they're also in dream where they have stretched out time. So it's like, we're kind of just waiting on stuff. So maybe it kind of makes sense. So I kind of gave it the hand wave there, but it definitely crossed my mind like what you just described.
It's not a plot hole. It's just like a little thing that maybe bugs me a little bit on like since I've watched it so many times. But even I like the idea of behind Dream Sharing. I like that they briefly explain like the origin of it. That was used as like military training exercise, and then it kind of converted into something else. I think that's really cool. I think it's interesting that like a lot of like Saito and Fisher, both like these big like corporate entities, have received like training for this because it's something that's like in the world, right? And like other people know about it. And even though it's like kind of illegal to do these extractions on people and these inceptions, it's still interesting that like on the corporate level, that's something they consider and they thought about that in the world. I think the idea of totems are really cool. And obviously it's a huge point in the story, but I think like Arthur's, for example, you see his, even though it has like no relevance on the story whatsoever. I just think that's a cool thing built into the world that's like, oh yeah, if this was existent in the real world, it would make sense for people to have this thing that they can tell the difference between. I think the idea of limbo is just super wicked and really interesting and creates this, I mean, it goes into this crazy imagery, but I think it's just such a cool idea. And then one more thing, just like we talked about this earlier, but Eames being like this forger and like having these extra skills that extend just strictly with dream sharing and his experience, I think is really interesting. I'm sure there's like other experts in different types of, obviously there's the architects we saw and stuff like that. I just think that there's so much thought put into this stuff, and some of it is exposed to us, some of it isn't, some of it is just like little details in the background. And I just think it's such a masterwork in creating this sci-fi world that deserves so much praise. And I think that's why I find it so interesting this many times over, It's because there is such attention to detail there. Even if there is some things we're calling out as like, oh, maybe that's a mistake or something, but I think there is just so much that's on point too that someone else came up with this concept, which is maybe a concept that at some point someone else would come up with. I don't think they would do it nearly as well as Christopher Nolan did in this particular.
Yeah, just like running on that same subject. It's going to be a recurring theme throughout this, I don't know, just retrospective for Nolan. But like I noticed that too watching Interstellar. I just made the observation that like when you're watching these movies, Inception, Interstellar, anything like that, even The Prestige to an extent, like I feel like he's actually taking you on kind of like an adventure. Like you're not just in one set piece where it could be like a play, right? Like no, you're going to the snow level where it feels like COD, and then you're going to like the rainy map, and then you're just going to like these different areas. You're going to America, you're going to France, you're going to Limbo. Like I just feel like I'm going on this grand adventure. I mean, these movies are almost 3 hours long, so it kind of makes sense that you are going on these grand adventures. But like I don't know, I just feel like that's another reason why I just really appreciate these films, because when I'm sitting down to watch this, like I'm going on a full-on ride, not just I'm stuck in this one area, for like for an hour and a half. And I was mixing my movies there. I was almost going to start talking about Interstellar. That's yet to come. But I think that's what I just love about Nolan is he really makes these grand worlds, and he fleshes them out so well with these, whether it's the great cast or just these great stories that he makes. And I really appreciate it for those reasons. And just piggybacking on what you're talking about, like the whole Eames character, I absolutely love Tom Hardy playing those types of roles where he's kind of just like a sly trickster. Like he's kind of just in it for himself, like when he's in the warehouse and he's like, yeah, no, I'm not going any deeper. Like you guys are on your own. Like fuck that. Or when the snow level, I guess it was his dream, but like you're just bringing up the possibility. It's like, no, I'm not going to Limbo. Fuck that. You guys are in on your own. But I don't know. I want to see him more in those roles as opposed to. I do like him as Tom Hardy in Venom. Say what you will about those films, but I do like him on that role. But I don't know. I want to see more Tom Hardy. Jesus, what Eddie Brock? There you go. I don't know why. But I don't know. I think he just carries. Like he has some sort of like ambiance that he carries to those roles, and I just want to see him do more of it, because I thought he was great in this. Even when he first like meets him, and when he's like, hey, like run, like make a distraction for this guy as I jump out the window or whatever. And he just walks up to him, and like his just like charisma that he has, I think he just does so well as those, I don't know, in those roles, and I just want to see more of it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think he's this is like my favorite role of his. I just think it's, as you're saying, it's like this suave kind of cool guy. I don't know. I think he plays that so well. He's just captivating on screen. I think like the cast in general is such a the crew that does the heist, I think is so well put together, because there's these fun like little dynamics between them, but then they also are like all their characters on their own. Like yes, Yusuf, you don't get tons of his backstory, and even Saito is like more of a plot device, but there's a little bit more dynamic there. I like his dynamic with Dom is cool. But I think Eames, another thing I love about his character is just the beef him and Arthur have. I think it's interesting because you never really know why they don't like each other. You don't know if it was a job that went wrong. You don't know if it was related to someone else. But it doesn't need to be explained. It's just really well thought out. It's like they're bugging each other when Eames kicks Arthur's chair out, or they're kind of just condescending to each other. Obviously, the bigger gun thing that we talked about earlier. I just love that dynamic between those two characters. And I feel like there's a lot of that, like the spider web too, right? Like Arthur then kind of connects to Ariadne in an interesting way, where they kind of have these buddings of like a romantic relationship, but it's not really gone into because it doesn't really need to, but it's just enough that creates that extra little string that's attached between those two. And I think that's the case for like everyone in this cast. It's such a fun team combined, even if they don't dig into their like day-to-day lives too much because they're just doing this heist or like training for this heist. But I think they did such a good job of establishing these characters in like just a short amount of time that each one of them has.
Yeah, I like Arthur's interactions with Ariadne when he's like, quick, give me a kiss. Gives a kiss. It's like, that work? Worth a shot. Attaboy.
Yeah, I think that's a like fantastic little moment too. Trying to think.
Just to throw out on the Joseph Gordon-Levitt's train there too. I don't know if you, Kirklin, or Taylor know this, but that hallway scene where it's spinning, it wasn't CGI. They actually built a spinning
I actually
room.
watched that video like I think 2 days ago. It was on like Reddit or something where it was spinning around. I never knew that. I thought that was extremely cool, especially when I was watching it this time around, and like having that thought in my mind that it's actually just a spinning room, I was like, wow, like just thinking of like how the camera's moving, because it's moving as if like it's kind of, yeah, I don't know, like they're on the ground, but meanwhile it's kind of, I don't know, it's just
Taylor, do you
some sort of
remember?
technology phenomenal.
Do you remember what horror movie that's from?
Ooh.
Oh,
Mm,
watch the gain on the mic there, Taylor. What the
the
heck?
games. Horror movie.
Well, Taylor and I recently, because they're doing
Yeah.
classics in Nightmare on Elm Street, that's where I'm pretty sure it was first done. Another movie where it's all about dreams and Tina's kill, which is probably the most
First
classic
done
kill.
in like Johnny's scene. You're talking about that, like when they went upside down in the blood?
No, not that. That was another one. Remember when Tina, she's the first, like, she's the blonde, she gets killed and she's on the wall and she starts on the floor, goes, yeah, that was the spinning room thing.
Oh,
And that's
okay.
another like horror thing where it's like that's that room. It's a dream. It's about dreams and stuff like that. So, like I said, I that's one of the questions I want to ask Nolan. But they do that same effect as far as spinning room, because Nolan, same thing in this movie. I think they said it was just under 500 visual effects, for which a movie of this caliber and this budget usually is not the case. He tries to use much practical as can be. I think Tenet is even lower than this. So it's he's always trying to be practical, which I appreciate, because CGI can be pretty bad.
Yeah, even like I don't know how they did all the zero gravity stuff for Arthur cruising around the hotel, but like that looks so believable and so good throughout that whole sequence.
I just kind of pictured that they just did that whole scene on the plane where, the plane descends at that certain altitude and they just get that like 30 seconds of just floating like gravity.
Kind of dangerous.
I think it was
Build a
cheaper for them
hotel
to
that
just
can
bring everyone to
fly.
space. Yeah, honestly.
They did, though, for Dark Knight Rises. Remember when Bane kidnaps that guy? That was a real plane that they chopped in half everything.
I thought you said they did go to space in Dark Knight Rises. I'm like, no.
An Interstellar
No.
whole movie, space. Yeah.
You gotta respect him for being a purist there.
Mhm.
Totally.
I'll mention this quickly since we were talking about characters a minute ago. We've touched on Fisher, like he doesn't have too much to him, but I think that's like anything. If anything, it's like a credit to how good Cillian, is that how you pronounce his name?
Cillian Murphy. Well, no one really knows. No one knows.
No one really knows.
Yeah.
Cillian Murphy, we're gonna say. I think that's great because this is such a big. Yeah, obviously we don't know if he really had this change. He says he does to Browning at the end. Who knows if it actually takes effect? Doesn't really matter for the sake of the story. But still, like that's such a massive character choice and decision and like roller coaster he goes through in like a pretty short amount of time. Like he doesn't have tons of screen time, like where he's specifically like has dialogue and stuff like that. So I think it's just a credit to how great his acting is in those moments that he really sells this like change of character that he's experienced in like a really short amount of time. So I wanted to shout him out. I don't think there's really like a scene I can point to where he really kills it or something, but I think he just is really solid all around, and he is more of just like he's almost like just like an object in the story, right? Just like I guess kind of like a plot device as well, but I think he really nails that like small role.
Sorry, which character is this?
Fisher. Yeah,
Oh,
like
okay.
the guy. Yeah, he's almost like the MacGuffin in a way, the thing they have to get, right? But in a way of like they don't have to get, they have to put
that's a
him
good word for it.
somewhere. And yeah, Cillian Murphy, he is one of the most underrated actors. He's not in enough things, and I hope in Quiet Place 2 comes out. Obviously, he can't really be a massive hit because COVID, but I just want more people to know who he is and know his name. He's been in almost every Nolan movie, because if you didn't know, he was close to being Batman before Christian Bale, so that's how he became Scarecrow, but he auditioned for that, and that's how they met. But he's great because my favorite scene with him is the scene where he sees his dad and he opens up the safe in the dream world and everything like that, because that's a scene where it makes you feel earned, makes you feel emotional, but technically everything that's happening is all fake. As far as one, it's in a dream, it's a subconscious, and two, this is a situation they've created. Likely his dad is still a piece of shit, but as the viewer, you don't feel that. You feel that there is this full circle. You feel that he has changed for the better. They might have not, because they even say at one point that he will lose a lot of his inheritance, so they might have screwed this guy over, but it feels like he's been on a journey that's been fulfilling. And yeah, I love that dynamic, because that character, and that if you go to bad actor, even bad writing, I think that could have been a slog. I even love his scenes with Leo when they're talking about the training he's had, and he's like, "Oh, I'm just going to kill myself," and Leo's like, "Please don't do that, don't do that." But I love everything. The conversation with the girl, I like when he's kind of playing up with the villains in a way, because they are the villains in his story. So yeah, he's great for the little time he has.
Yeah, no, he's really great. I really liked how they use, how was his name, Peter, the uncle, right?
Uncle Peter, yeah.
So I really
Great
liked
Tom
how they, I guess it kind of, I don't know, I guess we used how the same thing with Maul, how Cobb kind of incepts that idea into her mind, and then it kind of just completely changes her actual mind in the real world. Whereas for Uncle Peter, how they made him, it was Tom Hardy's character that was playing as him, and then Cobb is doing the Mr. Charles trick where he's kind of explaining to Fisher that it's all a dream, and then he's thinking that it's actually Peter, and then like that changes because Peter in that situation, it's not Tom Hardy, right? It's just a projection. But the reason that the projection is acting that way is because they had that in Fisher's mind. So like, since it's kind of his, because it is his dream at that point,
it's a subconscious. Right? Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's they're kicking.
So it's I really I feel like I totally missed out on the first watch around where like it's they have the idea in the dreamer which actually changes the whole subconscious. And like if you just think of that in your own dreams, whether you interact with, say I had Taylor in my dream and he's being a fucking dick to me and just a total asshole. And I'm like, wow, Taylor's an asshole, when I wake up. But it's just like, that's not actually Taylor. That's just my idea of what I think Taylor. Right? Yeah, like it's
only in
Taylor
Travis's
in real life.
dreams.
It was a bad example.
Well, it's like your significant other cheats on you in your dream. When you wake up, they still cheated on you in real life.
Yeah, but like I don't know, I like the whole explanation there, and it's one of those things that I just missed first time around, and then you appreciate it when you actually grasp it.
Yeah, it's like there's so much going on. There's like these big set pieces and these bigger character stories that you almost don't really like realize the nuance of that, but it is really well done. And like, yeah, it's like that Browning character. He's not like, he has very few lines and screen time and all that, but it still like fits perfectly and plays off Fisher well. I also like the detail, or I guess the use of like the number that they have recurring times. So like initially they're just trying to get a code out of him,
right?
It's just, like 6 numbers off the top of his head, and then I like that turns into like the hotel floor and room that they go to, and then that ends up being the code at the safe for the fortress. I think that was a fun little use
on the train too that kills Maul and Leo.
What's that?
The train that kills Maul and Leo, it's on that train.
The number?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
It's also the number that the girl writes down on the napkin.
Yeah, the phone number with 6 digits. Yeah,
exactly. I didn't know about the train. That's really cool. I've never noticed that. There you go.
So I just quick question on that number. Like that's not a number that they're trying to get from Fisher. They just use that number, right?
Yeah, they just need something in his mind to be reoccurring, because when they want him to open the safe, but he needs to have some number, right? So at that point in his dream, I think he's thinking, oh, it's my subconscious, that must be the number. So he puts it in instead of just like, because if they just how else they got to make him feel like he is opening it, right? So that's why they just pound this number in his head, like it's this number, it's this number. So when the safe happens, he plugs it in, and it's him doing it instead of like someone, oh, we'll just blow it up, because that's not as satisfying if like someone breaks it open for him, right? He has to be the one physically get the contract and find the spin wheel, which is a great touch. Because it's great, because there's so many times, there's 3 times Tom Hardy looks at that photo of Cillian Murphy and as a child, but even though he in that photo is playing the dad, it's just Cillian Murphy in a wig and a mustache if you look closely. So it's kind of fun that that's happening. But I love that. I love that they call back to that picture. And I always remember the first time of like, it's a nice touch, but why have we done it so many times? At first I thought, oh, it's just established. Okay, at one point he was close with his dad, but no, it's just in the dream they set up that, oh, his dad always loved him in some sort of way, and he kept that for them. But they created that item. So to me, that's another item that they had to create to get in the dream.
Maybe I just missed it because I wasn't really observant, but like I didn't really notice like the spin wheel, whatever you call those things, like until the final photo when you actually see it and he has it. And you had mentioned it previously, but that scene when he like is kind of having that realization again, it's a fake realization that his dad wasn't a dick, but like I don't know, it's kind of happy because his dad's dead. Like it doesn't really matter. Like if he thinks that his dad was a good guy, I don't know. Like it's not like he's gonna interact with him, right? Like it's probably better for his mental health.
Ethically, none of them really care how much this messes up Fisher. And
no, the bad guys win again. Yeah,
but that's the Matrix Dark Knight situation, Kirklin. Of would you rather be a bit unhappy and have the truth, or would you rather be happy but live a lie?
The steak tastes delicious, right?
Yeah.
You know, I would keep eating the steak.
And that's what Fisher is like. Technically, he might be happier, but he's living a lie now. Like his whole life is going to be changed upon something that these guys screw with. Maybe it's for the better, but maybe it's not, because he's going to lose a bunch of money too. So
I got 2
money
things.
Isn't happiness.
So I'm glad that we talked about that number thing, and that's something that cleared up, because when I remember I was 15 years old when I saw this movie at first, and I had thought that they went into the dream 3 or 4 times to specifically get a number to unlock a safe. And
well, yeah, it's kind of set up that way originally, right? When they're like what is the number? What is the first number that comes to your head? And
I know. And
as the viewer for
15-year-old
a
Taylor
first-time
totally
yeah.
thought that.
Your 15-year-old Taylor.
15-year-old
obviously,
Dragon
is that-
Taylor.
15-year-old Dragon Taylor, yeah.
Oh God.
Another thing I want to shout out is I love that the dad is actually from Jurassic Park Lost World.
Of
Oh,
course you
God.
are.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
such a
He's done
like-
more than that.
I love that
Cut
Christopher
back right
Nolan
there.
saw that movie and is like, this
No.
actor, we're going to get him in.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
Do you know his name, Travis? It's a good
Peter
name.
something. I can't
Pete
remember.
Gerard Browning.
Post Let Wait.
Yeah, he
Post Let
he
Wait.
passed away like a few months after the movie. This was his last role, so it's a shame. But yeah, he's been great. He's also been.
Was he
Acting
actually
Town.
like sick in the movie? Like was
No,
actually sick or
no.
Of
I
course
think
he
they
has
filmed
that.
that months ago. He just happened to
Okay.
pass away. Nolan pulls up in his hospital, but hey, one
Well,
last show.
George Lucas put a battle-damaged car accident Mark Hamill into the Empire Strikes Back. So you never know with directors these days. You're
That's
on
a
your
lot
deathbed.
different.
they'll
They
get
told
you in
Mark
there.
Hamill's face was never gonna fully heal. He had no choice.
So George Lucas was like, "Get him."
I don't
in
think
there.
they took poor old Pete off his deathbed and said you're going to play Cillian Murphy's dad for a few hours. Like,
Jesus.
shout out to him. Great character actor. Been in tons of stuff. I have no other notes or questions. So anyone else has the floor if they got anything else.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
I have a few things, but I'll kind of quick fire them because we've mentioned like most of them in passing. Maul, I think, is just one of the most underrated villains of all time. I am just terrified of Marion Cotillard is her name, something like that.
Marion Cotillard.
Marion Cotillard. Taylor actually got it. Yeah, Cotillard. Yeah.
2 points,
She seems
Taylor.
lovely, but I'm
Assassin's
just
Creed.
she seems lovely. I'm just terrified of her now and anything. Like when I finally saw it, whatever she has a role in Batman or something. I'm just so scared of her now. Like this role is so established in my mind. Just the
She's in
music.
Batman?
What's
Dark
that?
Knight Rises.
Dark Knight
Really?
Rises, baby.
Oh, okay. I think I've
Talia
only seen
al
that movie
Ghul.
once. So
Yeah.
Commentary track coming soon.
So yeah, it's just the little things. It's like the mysterious aspect of her, how like powerful she seems. Even like that one scene when she's with Ariadne and she's talking to her, and she just like is so much taller than her. She's got like another foot on her as well, and she's just super menacing as she surrounds her. And it's just greatly layered as well, right? Because she's this like deeply flawed character, and you can just look at all these things that like, no, you're wrong on like all these things. You're going crazy, but like she was driven to that point as well by Cobb. So it's just really, really well done. I think she's a fantastic villain. We've pretty much talked about all the set pieces. Like obviously the one in the hotel is kind of the main one I think people shout out, but I think the design of the snow fortress is really cool. I love the car chase in the rainy city and the cars flipping around, and every once in a while it cut back to them like floating and their arms are,
Looking like Woody in Toy Story.
yeah, like they're like on a roller coaster ride or something. And then even the opening scene I think is great because it's just like this cold open of like, here's all this information. Can you handle this? It's so in depth, but like, yeah, the like Japanese kind of, I don't even know what you'd call it, but this Japanese like building, I guess, is really cool. And then even like the town, wherever they are, where there's all these people running around in the street. I just think all the set pieces there are really, really cool. And then I think the last time I want to touch on that we've mentioned before, but is the music is just so good. I feel like people meme on it a bit, like with the blah, like all those noises now that Inception kind of popularized. But
Yeah.
really, it is just so good and builds so much suspense. And then there's like a hopeful theme that is recurring, and then is just like really powerful at the ending. The anticipation theme when things are heating up in the heist or something's going wrong. The song they play, I think, is a really cool touch that they play that because they can hear that over the like through the compound. I think that's really fun that's like a song that
the
keeps
French song, yeah, I really like that.
And then even just the sound itself of the dream machines, that kind of like Darth Vader like breathing sound, I think is very, yeah, I think it's great.
Oh my god, you sound like a dentist.
That's a
Almost.
different sound, yeah.
That was close. It was close.
Dentist.
The jail sound.
I think that like recurring sound is just like a really powerful noise. Like once again with the sound effects, I think is a really fun sound effect. So those are my kind of quick fire thoughts. I love this movie. I feel like I could talk for another 2 hours, but we do have to
Go for it.
it's 10
movie
p.m.
to
at this
discuss.
point. We're getting there. So I think that's like we covered the most of it, but that is I just love this movie so much.
Yeah. It's
Do you
a
guys have
unique
any
movie
other,
that definitely had a unique retro for it, you know. All of us just basically asking questions and theorizing. But
that's
it's
the
fun.
way to do it, man.
Yeah.
So I'll throw out a couple of just little facts, or I don't know, whatever, Easter eggs, whatever you want to call them. If some of them were mentioned and I missed it, my bad. One, when they do have that floating level, Adriana does have her hair in a bun, so that way they didn't have to figure out how hair would float in 0 gravity.
That's cool.
Stealing my
Bun
trivia.
bun.
Stealing my trivia, but that's all right.
Oh, I'm sorry. Then there is notes that if you take the names of all the people, Dom, Robert, Eames, Arthur, Maul, Saito, Peter, Ariandre, and Yusef, it spells out Dreams Pay, which is actually how they earn their living.
Damn. Yeah, I never
It
realized
spells
that.
out what? Sorry.
Dreams
Dreams
pay.
Pay.
Dreams pay.
Dollar bills.
Yeah.
So
Wish I
is
had
that
money
like
in my dreams. That'd be
is that
dope.
intentionally done, or is that just
I
someone
think
like
so.
deep diving and like in their basement, the blinds shut, like I need to figure out the source of Inception.
Maybe, but even like Dom's name, and I think I can't remember in Dutch or something, it means home and stuff like that. There's the reason he picked the song was really specific. The movie is the same runtime as the song, like as far as hours and minutes, but then minutes and seconds. Nolan purposely made it the exact same time as the song, so I don't think anything's put it like for the most part. I think he puts everything in there meaningful. Like I think
Nolan's
there's
the
always
guy in the basement with the blinds shut
Yeah.
there, Taylor.
100%.
We
That's
do
right.
that with our podcast. We make sure that each episode times specifically the length of the movie, don't we? So we got like another hour to go.
yeah. Get strapped in.
All you, Taylor. What do you got?
So another one, Adriana is
Ariadne. Ariadne.
I'm just gonna keep saying it different ways. One time
Ariana Grande.
It's such a cool name. You gotta get
Ariadne.
Okay, what is it?
Ariana Grande.
No.
Shut up.
Get this guy out of the lobby again. He's losing privileges.
Kick him out.
Okay. Well,
Ariadne.
whatever her Ariadne.
Yeah.
There you go.
So that name is from Greek mythology, the princess associated with mazes and labyrinths.
That makes sense.
That's cool.
If someone sorry.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say if someone asked you to draw a maze, took you 2 minutes, 1 minute to solve, how many people could actually do that? I feel like that'd be impossible for me.
Well, she's
like
an architect though, so she made. I think.
Yeah, but like,
I don't know what she's
I feel like you have to
trained-
test it yourself. I'd be like, oh, can I actually finish this?
Well, that's
I
the
don't
point,
know.
right? He's looking for someone
Again,
really good. Real
clearly, I'm not an
fast.
architect.
If you
Clearly,
ever
I'm
want
not
a
an
job at like Exit, that's on the application process.
Oh
so.
god, I can't even pass exit, let alone design at level.
I've only ever lost like 2 exits. How do you not beat Exit?
I'm not intelligent.
That's a good excuse.
Okay. Anyway.
Wisdom is not high. I'm more of a strength guy.
On the license plate of the taxi, the motto of the state is the alternate state.
Ooh.
So like we're beautiful British Columbia, they're the alternate state. Yeah, the song that is played is written about leaving the past behind. So that's the song that Travis was just talking about that has the same runtime. And yeah, I think the only other one, oh yeah, when Cobb uses a silencer in the beginning and shoots, he actually uses his left hand to catch the bullet to also avoid the sound of the shell hitting
I
the
was
ground.
wondering what he's doing with his hand there. I'm like, that's not how my gun works in Warzone. What is this? This isn't real. No, yeah, it's a
Yeah.
cool touch.
I mean, if I start going down deeper, they're starting to get into more of the really kind of nitty gritty ones. So I can just leave it at that unless we're really looking to kill another hour.
See if Travis has any left.
Oh no, they're all gone. That's it. So, ladies and gentlemen, no. In an interview with Entertainment Weekly, Christopher Nolan explained that the roles are based on the Inception team, similar to the roles in
I mean, I do have
filmmaking.
more. You want to keep going?
Cobb's the director. Well, what do you have? What do you have?
You do want them?
I
My nitty gritty ones?
Normally on the retro, someone will go in, get the trivia, parse it down to the interesting stuff, and then they'll do that. You kind of took that from Travis, but I think if you have
It's
some good
working.
ones, give it to him. Like,
Yeah, it's
If you have bullet points, yeah, but don't just read off like random ones that are just still on the list. Like all mine are personally selected,
personally.
Mine are not personally selected,
Mm.
but they have many upvotes on Reddit.
I don't think Travis
Well-
is on Reddit.
No,
Don't have a
Travis
Reddit
is
account.
not a thing.
Travis uses Tumblr.
I think so.
So when Ames loses less chips at the casino, he's then shown cashing out two stacks. It's because they're forged, hence why Cobb picks one up and says your spelling hasn't improved.
Yeah,
Ah,
it's a fun one.
It's a fun one. Cobb gets off the train because he doesn't like trains, because that's how they kill themselves, but we didn't know that at the time. I mean, there's in the beginning when it's raining and Joseph Gordon-Levitt turns the radio off in the taxi. It's because the music that's playing is actually from a Muslim artist, and he's from a Muslim place. So once again, him populating the dream with his own preferences.
That makes sense. Music was blaring when he first got in there too. It was just pumped.
The artist's name is actually Youssef as well. So
there you go.
And actually, I'll throw out one more that's really cool. Apparently, Inception is said 3 times in the credits, at the beginning, in the middle, and the end. I didn't watch the credits.
Yeah, me neither. I didn't stick around.
Okay, that's like down to the nitty gritty.
That's good.
Now you can go, Travis.
What do you got, Travis?
Travis, did you have all of those?
No, not those other ones.
There
no.
you go. Thank you,
go.
Jessica, for bringing those.
Mm-hmm. Whatever I was saying in the interview, Entertainment Weekly says the roles are similar to filmmaking. Cobb is the director, Arthur is the producer, Ariadne is the production design, Ames is the actor, and Saito is the studio head. Fisher is the audience. In trying to write a team-based creative process, I wrote the one I know. He also said the snow-based third-level dream was inspired by his favorite James Bond film, On Her Majesty's Service, which I can't believe because On Her Majesty's Service is one of the worst James Bonds, but there you go. But yeah, I was going to say that's what always reminded me, that snow level is James Bond, that The World's Not Enough, and the very beginning with Cobb and the gun. Like, we're getting Tenet, which is just his James Bond. He's been a massive James Bond fan. I cannot wait to see what he's going to do. But he's always been in Bond stuff. Let's see. He first pitched this movie to Warner Brothers in 2012 after the completion of Insomnia. He was met for approval of the studio. However, it was not yet written at the time, and determined rather than writing it as an assignment, he would write it as a spec script. A spec script is something that he's not commissioned for or paid. It's just an idea to get the studio to fund it. He said it would only take a few months. It ended up taking 8 years. So, you know, a little break in between that. According to cinematographer Wally Feister, Warner Brothers executives did approach Nolan about making the movie 3D, but he refused the idea, claiming it would distract the storytelling experience of Inception. So I'm pretty happy about that. Yeah, fuck 3D. Leonardo DiCaprio was the only choice for Cobb between Nolan and Emma Thomas. If you don't know who Emma Thomas is, that's his producer/wife. The role of Saito was written exclusively for Ken Watanabe because he loved him in Batman Begins, but Nolan felt he did not give him enough screen time, so he wanted to have him in a supporting role. Kate Winslet was approached for the role of Maul, but turned it down, saying she couldn't see herself as the character. Kirklin, you got Red Rum going on. What's happening?
Dude, Emma is that not the chick from the newest Mission Impossible? Or is that Emma Thompson?
One, I don't think Emma Thompson is in Mission Impossible. Is she?
I don't know why I said Mission Impossible. I meant Men in Black. There you go.
Yes, that is her, but not. Yeah. No. That's the actress Thompson. This is Emma Thomas. 2 different people.
Okay.
Yeah, like The Prestige. 2 different people. And then Kate Winslet. That would have been. I'm glad Kate Winslet didn't happen because I just feel like Titanic and Leo, that pairing again would have just distracted a bunch of
there's
people.
Already theories like combining these 2 movies when he wakes up on the shore, let alone like introducing Kate Winslet. It's like it's all a dream. It was all from Titanic.
So I think it was actually better he didn't go with that. Let's see here. Before Ellen Page accepted the role, Nolan met with a bunch of actresses: Rachel Wood, Emily Blunt, Rachel McAdams, Emma Roberts, Kara McGowan, and Taylor Swift. And at first I didn't believe the Taylor Swift thing, but if you think about in Dunkirk, he casted Harry Styles, so he does meet with pop stars and whatnot, so it wasn't out of the realm of possibility. I'm glad it went to Ellen Page. But the painting that Maul stares at inside his dream that they cite for Arthur creating greatly resembles the work done by Francis Bacon. Francis Bacon, who's Christopher Nolan and Heath Ledger used as the inspiration for the Joker's look. So some little Dark Knight action there. My last 2 are, once Leonardo DiCaprio was cast, he spent months with Christopher Nolan. He stated that he made some extraordinary contributions to the script. He really changed me to make me how to think about the script and make it clear, but he also followed the interior logic and really be true to the essence of the characters and rules that are set. Nolan's wife, Emma Thomas, said the work DiCaprio did on his character made Chris make the movie less of a puzzle and more of a story about a character the audiences could relate to. The only reason I threw that in is just because I want Leo and him to work together again. So it's glad that they had a good experience. And then finally, when Cobb asks his kids what have they been doing at the end of the movie, they ask, or if you turn the caption, they say building a house on a cliff. This is referring back to the beginning of the movie of Saito's house on the cliff. The movie explains the audience significance of Fisher's number, subconsciously reappearing in the dreams. We talked about that. Let's see.
Because it all is a dream, just like my theory.
And then
Valid theory?
I don't think so. And then, like I said before, I already said this earlier, that he cleverly made the movie 2 hours and 28 minutes long for a reason. The song continually played to wake people up from the dream. This dream is 2 minutes and 28 seconds. So yeah, there you go. Inception, done.
Way to go.
Mm-hmm. Final thoughts.
Wow.
Oh yeah. I think I've said everything. It's a great movie. If it's on my top 10, it's a 10 out of 10. It's one of those, I don't use the words masterpiece or perfect. I use them for a few, and this is probably one I would. I just think it's, there's little things here and there, but no movie's perfect. So it's just a phenomenal movie, and that's why it gets me excited about Tenet, because Tenet feels like it's in that family as far as Inception has that vibe. So I can't wait, and I love this movie.
Gucci. I'll take her away. Yeah, this movie, for whatever reason, I love dreams. I love all that stuff, but I don't think this is a perfect movie in my eyes. There's just too many things that I think it's like, whether it's the jumping around, not fully explaining things, that I don't know. It's not necessarily a takeaway from it. For whatever reason, for me, it doesn't sit the best in my eyes. I don't know. I'm not going to explain myself to you people. So I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. I absolutely love this movie, but it's not one that, like, from the first time I watched it, I was like, wow, this is a mess. Like, I have to keep watching this movie. Like some of the other Nolan films that I've seen, The Prestige had that effect on me. Interstellar had that effect on me. So, but yeah, I don't want to say it's a bad movie any way, shape, or
That's what
form.
you
Any
did.
movie. I didn't say it was a masterpiece. I didn't say it was a bad movie, but yeah, 9 out of 10. I love this movie, but it's not my top 10.
Taylor, you look frozen. Are you frozen, Taylor?
It's a cutout. Remember, he's playing Warzone right now. It's not actually him there.
Yeah, I don't think it is actually him. Like, look, he's like,
He's so creepy.
that's
kick him
not
again.
him. There's no way. Oh,
Dropped.
he dropped. Okay, so
That was the creepiest smile I've ever seen in my
Taylor
life.
told me he gave it 1 out of 10. So, Jessica, what do you think? Any final thoughts on the movie?
Yeah, I love any movie that makes me like, I have to watch it a second time. So if it's confusing as heck and you pick up more the second time around, I'm all for it. Like, on that note, if you guys have any recommendations of movies with like hella amazing twists at the end,
The Prestige.
send them my
Star
way.
Wars.
The Big Lebowski.
The Prestige is crazy plot twist. Have you seen Prestige?
Yeah, I said at the beginning of this cast, I was really
Kirklin doesn't
sad I
listen.
wasn't on Prestige.
Yeah, I don't really listen, but I
hear that.
Yeah.
Like, most of the movies that are being done for this retrospect, Interstellar's like that too. There's a lot of little things when you watch it again and again. So yeah, anything like that, I'm all about it. So I enjoyed watching this, and because I knew what was happening and everything that was going on, so you don't have to focus so much on that, and you're kind of able to pick up on those little details, as opposed to kind of fighting to figure out what is going on the first time you watch it. I don't really do the number system, but yeah, if you haven't seen this movie for whatever reason, you definitely should. Or if it's been a while, why not watch it again?
I
It's
agree.
on Netflix, so
Taylor
so
Field.
you don't have to pay for it.
Yeah.
Taylor Field.
Yeah.
The guy that doesn't pay for this movie.
Never paid. He said.
I like this movie, and I'll give it a 10 out of 10 for its 10th anniversary.
Fuck off.
God.
For that reason,
That's
not because he
terrible
liked it or
reason.
anything. Just
You didn't even get this movie.
What do you mean I didn't get it?
didn't pay for it.
And I feel like you had some very obvious questions that were answered if you watched the movie, not at 1 a.m.
Wow.
I don't know if any
Subtle
questions
shade.
are obvious. This is a very in-depth movie, I'd say, but I feel like I definitely learned a lot discussing it with you guys, and that conversation that was held definitely
agree.
made me enjoy the movie a lot more, because it definitely was able to kind of like clear the void a little bit. So I'm giving it that high mark just because like I love the way that again, Dylan, you mentioned the score and the different sound pieces they use. I love the cinematography that they did in this film. I love the lineup of actors and cast that they had for this film, and it's just I'm surprised I haven't seen it or gone back the only Christopher Nolan films that I've done on rewatch have been like the Dark Knight trilogy, to be honest. I mean, that's always been my go-to. But I'm gonna have to give this a few more watches, I think, or I might just keep the legend going and watch another 10 years. So we'll wait and see.
That's a good idea. It's like that
It would probably
podcast
hold
that
up.
reviews Paul Blart Mall Cop every year.
Oh God.
Watch Inception every
Oh.
10 years.
We should hop on the watching
Oof.
Paul Blart every year.
Oof.
You can definitely hop
Yeah,
on
You can do
I'll
it,
opt
yeah.
out.
I'll listen. I'll listen to the
Yeah.
episode, but I'm busy that day. So. Okay, I think that is it. I don't do the numbers as well, but I love this movie. One of my very favorites. Top 5 for me. I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna go past top 10. I'm saying top 5.
Remember, for our Golden Geeks for the decade, it won Best Film for the podcasters. Remember, so it has that claim too.
Deservedly
you know?
so. Yeah.
9 out of 10 film.
Yeah, that is going to be it for today. We'll be back next time with Interstellar. That it's 10 p.m. We're going to record that right now. We're doing it. That'll be up on Patreon right away, or you can wait for it to hit the feeds, and then Tenet will be coming up. Of course, Dunkirk, we have a review up on the channel already because we reviewed that when it came out. And then the Dark Knight trilogy is, I don't know, we've talked about it elsewhere. You can go find it, or comp tracks are coming at some point.
Mhm.
But as of right now, we're doing Inception right now. Obviously, we just finished that. Interstellar next time, and then Tenet. So tune in. And I don't want to take Travis's
It
line, so I'm
won't
going to
be
let Travis have. Is he going to say it? Nope. That's the end of the podcast. See you, everyone.